In this week's episode, we're laying down the law. Disneyland law, that is. Get ready for big changes because Disney is rolling out a bunch of new rules leading up to the opening of Galaxy's Edge. Join us on an incredible journey through smoke-colored glasses as we discuss everything from new stroller regulations to why you have to bag your ice now. It's a lot to digest. Speaking of digestion, there's a new popcorn bucket and sipper combo at the parks. Never mind, it's already sold out. Also, Jessie's Critters opens unexpectedly, Dumbo makes peanuts, the Eternals, and more on this foolish episode of the MousePIRE Podcast.
I'm Anthony.
I'm Diggs.
I'm Tim. Welcome to MousePIRE, your source for Disney, Star Wars, and everything in between. This is the podcast where both empires collide. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the MousePIRE Podcast.
What's going on? Uh-oh.
The apprentice lives.
What is this?
You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one.
Bring up me how to show up.
You never had a friend like me.
Some imagination, huh?
Made you look.
Na 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 na. Hey, smoking's banned.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Adios.
So, 3 a.m.
Yes.
for some reason. At 3 a.m. last... What day was that? The 28th. When was that? When was the 28th? For just like inauspiciously, I just happened to be on Twitter for some reason at 3 a.m.
You weren't responding to my text.
OC Disney started posting one after another, like 6 posts. And I was like, first, smoking ban coming to Disneyland, California Adventure, Downtown Disney. And then, Disneyland tightens stroller size restrictions. Then, Disneyland set to open new parking structure garage. Then, Disneyland's bathroom pass will make hours-long lines. Then, Disneyland will limit Galaxy's Edge access to hotel guests and theme park visitors. Then, Disneyland won't loosen costume policy for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Whoa. I was like,
What about the ice packs?
The hell is going... That wasn't even included in that because, it was included in one of the posts. I think the one about the strollers. But I was like, whoa, this is unexpected. Half of this stuff is stuff that, as we said on last week's podcast,
Anthony.
as we both said on last week's podcast, it's stuff that 100% Disneyland doesn't normally announce. Now, technically, at this time, they hadn't announced it. They allowed the press to announce it, which is what we told you on last week's podcast is what they usually do.
At that point.
They let the press announce it. But then hours later, sometime, in the morning?
When normal people are up.
When normal people are up, they announced that sometime in the morning, it was actually like 8 in the morning because they announced the parking structure at 8 in the morning. The actual Disney Parks blog started posting things about it, as well as then other people started posting. And I was just like, boy, this is crazy, man. It's like, what is it? Just out of nowhere, first of all. Then for the rumors to, the 2 separate rumors to become a part of one big, huge, just dump of like reality, and just like, what's going to lead to a lot of controversy and already has amongst debates. So let's just
dive right into the secondhand
right
smoke.
I don't know how to swim.
Oh,
so diving into the secondhand smoke.
Yeah, let's start with, is that where you want to start with the smoking? Is that cool? Let's start with the smoking ban. Now, I've been saying for a while now that I knew that I even predicted quite a while ago, and you guys both know this, that the 2 smoking sections inside the 2 parks, particularly the one in Disneyland because of its proximity to the entrance to Galaxy's Edge, I predicted that both of those would be closed before Galaxy's Edge opened.
Or at least move.
Or at least, no. I predicted Disneyland would be completely smoke-free by Galaxy's Edge. I predicted that by next year, I think I said something about the DCA one. I've never even really had any optimism about them banning smoking in downtown Disney, much less the Esplanade. And that's why those two are the ones that come as the most shock.
Well, I thought that they were going to put... I thought the only place that they have left to move the smoking area, there's two spots. One,
Well, moving it wasn't even an option, so let's just not even talk about moving them because I don't even think they would have done that.
I was of the opinion.
There's nowhere to move them to.
Well, there's the dock that goes really far back.
But they use that.
They used to use that.
No, they still do for Mickey's Halloween party.
Oh, well, they can always not have it be for that. But where the payphones used to be behind Buzz, you know what I'm talking about, kind of near the exit of...
You're being across, not behind Buzz. Don't say it like that. It's across from Matterhorn.
Well, it's also across from the Matterhorn, yeah. But there used to be a bank of payphones there.
Yeah, that's too close. That's too close to Pixie Hollow. Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
I just want to say that no one would have heard about this if it wasn't for the press, because it was the Disney Parks blog posted it from the Disney Moms panel stupid thing that they have on the Disney, those mom panel things that give you suggestions of what to do.
Yeah, they partner with them quite often.
I saw when you see something come from Disney Mom's panel, it says Disney Mom panel update. Know before you go, tips for your next park visit. I'm not going to read that because I don't need a tip for my park visit. So if it wasn't for the press, people wouldn't have read this.
Well, that's why it was such a surprise for that, like I said, OC Disney, which is a Twitter account that's run by the OC Register, which is, of course, the newspaper of Orange County. And it's specifically, they use the OC Disney to run press releases for Disneyland, in case you guys didn't know that. They, like I said, they just dumped all these different posts, and it was like at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was just like, what the hell's going on? I'm surprised that you didn't even see that, because I know it must have been one of the nights you went to bed early.
No, actually, I got one of my friends sent me basically the pictures. You know how they have the pictures of what you can't do and whatever? He sent me those, but from the hub. And I was like, oh, okay. So he started sending me all these, all the pictures and stuff. So I was about to try to post it. And then another friend of mine started sending me screenshots from that.
What time was that? Because I sent you at 6:18 in the morning. I sent you the know before you go, and that was from Disney.go.
I had already known about it for 3 hours by the time you told him.
I was playing Zelda during those hours.
Okay, this was at 4 in the morning.
Okay.
So... that one was sending me pictures, and then I already found out that the blog posted it already. So instead of me just posting those pictures, I just went ahead and posted the Disney Parks blog, because the other cast member told me, oh yeah, Disney Parks blog just posted it. So like I said, I would have not read that, because I did get the tweet from that, the notification that post was made, but I'm like, I'm not going to read that. I don't care. But yeah, so that was like about 3:30 in the morning when I found out about it.
Despite the fact that this is the press, they do have something wrong here. They say they refer to the DCA smoking area as being near the Silly Symphony swings. That is obviously incorrect.
No, it's been moved over there.
Oh, when did it get moved over there?
Probably about 3.
See, you're talking about shit getting moved, and it already got moved.
It got moved from Grizzly behind that probably about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. It went over to basically after the.
So they're gonna move it just to close it? Why not just close it then?
Yeah, I mean,
well, the Silly Symphony swings are under refurb, so
right.
The whole area is abandoned.
Right.
So probably when the refurb started, that's when they.
Okay, so that's not wrong then. That's just like super outdated or it's not. It's just like something got changed and then now it's getting changed again, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so that's not wrong, but so that's gonna be closing. The one over there on the Big Thunder Trail is going to be closing, which, like I said, that one I knew would close before Galaxy's Edge regardless. And now, like I said, the surprising thing is that not only will they no smoking in the Esplanade, which is a good thing, because
but that's technically just the area in between the two parks. Esplanade.
Okay.
Well, to be clear, that's the Esplanade. But where is the smoking area? Where will smoking be allowed? Because it's not allowed in downtown Disney either.
Okay, can I finish?
Well, yeah.
Well, I wasn't there yet.
Well, we're just having a conversation.
Okay, but you just like wasted like a minute of if you just let me keep talking.
20 seconds.
Okay. Because I was the Esplanade, which I expected it eventually, but like this is way sooner than I expected. But what I never expected them to do downtown Disney. I mean maybe eventually, like in the 2020s sometime, but yeah, I mean they're going all out. So I mean basically it's saying the only place you'll be able to smoke is near Harbor on the east side. And then there says there will be designated smoking sections near the Disneyland Hotel, the Grand Californian, and the Paradise Pier Hotel. Now, I don't know where those are particularly, or unless those are ones that they're creating. I don't know where the Grand Californian one would be. It would have to be out front.
When the cars come in?
Yeah, like near the valet or something.
Right, yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Me too.
Because it
There's
can't
some
be
areas
it
like
can't
off
be
to the side.
like in the hotel because the hotel was already smoke free, right?
Wow, they also have such big. Same thing for Disneyland Hotel. They have really big ballrooms there that they use for corporate functions, and to not have a pretty adjacent smoking area for those corporate people.
What about where you enter from downtown Disney?
Oh,
And then they have that courtyard.
yeah,
Maybe.
Maybe.
Just saying.
which is close to the ballrooms.
Right.
In addition, it's an event space too, so they might maybe off to the side over there.
Yeah, if any of these are going to be new areas that they're creating out of old areas that were smoking areas, then we'll probably get details about those later on. If those 3 hotels already had a designated smoking area, then you'll have to just assume that those will continue to be the designated smoking areas. Now, just a note that and you're gonna hear this phrase a lot, and I don't know if we've actually mentioned it before. I've seen this term before, but I don't know if we've mentioned it before, and that's Project Stardust.
Yes, we did.
And that's not Project Stardust in relation to Rogue One
No.
or the Death Star or Jen Urso or anything like that. This is the Disneyland initiative that has been dubbed Project Stardust that seeks to relieve pedestrian pinch points throughout the park ahead of the massive crowds that are expected to descend on Galaxy's Edge. Now, we may not have said Project Stardust before, but we have been talking about various initiatives and parts of Project Stardust for probably over 6 months now, because starting with the removal of the planters in Tomorrowland and other places around the park that have had planters moved.
The ones in front of Haunted Mansion.
Right, the benches that have been removed in various places, other things that have been removed. Those are all part of Project Stardust that have been going on for probably at least maybe a year now, that are just various things that have been all leading up to this now more public face on Project Stardust, starting with this the smoking ban, which is going to basically limit basically the whole entire resort is smoke free now finally, which is
for the most part. I'm sure that each hotel will
no,
have
because
some sort of smoking
you have to
area.
go outside of the security zone to smoke, which means that as far as they're concerned, anything within the security zone is the resort. At least as far as everything that they've led us to believe with their security measures.
The resort also does include the hotels, but
well, that's going to be the only exception.
they're going to have
You
some
can't
sort of
have
smoking
security
area.
for the hotels.
We just said that.
Yeah. Well, we already talked about the smoking areas at the hotels, but the hotels are outside of the security zone. So, okay, well, within the whole entire security zone, then let's put it that way, not necessarily the resort, but within the security zone is now completely smoke free, and that's, to me, that's unprecedented. I mean, this is coming from a guy who voluntarily in the 90s quit smoking at Disneyland because I felt that it was disrespectful. And this is, I used to be a heavy smoker. I smoked for almost 20 years, smoked cigarettes. And like I said, in the 90s, towards the beginning of my smoking, I mean, you remember, you were probably there when I said, I'm not going to smoke inside Disneyland anymore. It's disrespectful to other people. And this is when it was just Disneyland. There was no DC at the time.
Was that when you
just,
could still smoke in the queues?
Oh no, that's where you can smoke everywhere. Yeah,
literally.
Well, I don't know about the queues, but
was the first thing to go.
Yeah, that was the first thing to go. But no, I mean, you could still walk around the whole entire park smoking, and I made a conscious decision myself to not smoke inside the parks because I'm not a dick.
I smoked in the parks.
Which brings us to the. But you smoked in smoking areas, I assume.
Well, before that, it's just a matter of like taking the thought to blow your smoke up as opposed to just out. Little stuff.
That doesn't do anything though. And if you admittedly kept smoking inside the park, knowing around people, then yeah, you are a dick.
All right, I don't smoke anymore.
Well, then there you go.
Not in a long time. But.
Well, then you've rectified that in another way, better way for your own health, as I did. Which brings us to: do we want to save all the controversy for the end and talk about it all at once, or do we want to talk about it per item?
Let's do it per item.
Okay, because of course, there are people out there who think they need to smoke. Because if they don't smoke, they're going to turn into they're going to start murdering babies or something. Because that would be the only... Smoker, I am also a previous smoker. And
I can play devil's advocate and say that in certain situations, you've just had a meal or...
No, that's bullshit.
Something, you're stressed out because of whatever. Or just it's been a long time.
No.
You're weak.
That's a cop-out.
It's a weakness.
I smoked for 20 years. I could have easily have just waited until I got outside the park, especially since up until now, when it starts, May 1st, you will be able to smoke in the Esplanade, and it's not that far of a walk to anywhere within either park to the Esplanade to smoke a cigarette.
For right now.
Right now.
To the Esplanade?
But, if you... You know what? Like I said, as a smoker, it's a cop-out, and if you need a cigarette that bad, then you have deeper issues than just smoking.
Well, anybody that's listening to this podcast knows how you feel about smokers. Nonetheless,
and as a former smoker, I could say what I want about smokers.
Sure. I'm just playing the other side.
Okay. Like I said, if anybody has a problem with it, everybody knows I don't care.
I don't really care if they can smoke in the park or not anymore, but I understand I need a cigarette. I get it.
So I need a cigarette is more important than children's lives and children's health than other people's health. Because that's what all of these idiots on Twitter and Facebook and wherever else that are bitching and moaning about the smoking ban. That's what they're basically saying is that their need for a cigarette is more important than other people's health.
I don't agree with them. Not at all. I just understand it.
Well, at least I guess that's better than agreeing with them.
But I don't agree with them. It's obviously you're making the choice to smoke, and that's how a lot of us.
But understanding it is still a cop out.
Nobody needs. I read one with the lady was saying Disney ruined her 4-year-old granddaughter's chance to go to Disneyland or Disney World or whatever.
Because her smoking is more important than her 4-year-old.
Because now she wouldn't be able to smoke, and I've tried quitting, and I just can't, and basically anything other than I realize that I'm the smoker and I've made this decision and so on. No self-acceptance of you choosing to be the problem.
I'll say this real fast and then we can move on to the next thing. I was, like I said, I smoked for 20 years. I was a 1 to 2 pack a day smoker. I wasn't just some casual, I'm going to just smoke with people. No, I was a serious smoker. I quit cold turkey. I smoked my last cigarette.
What did you tell the turkey?
I told it, you're cold. I smoked my last cigarette. I walked into a vape shop. I bought a vape, and I never smoked a cigarette after that. And then I got super bored with having to refill the vape, and I just totally quit.
What about, how long did you do the vape for?
Months.
Did you step down the nicotine?
It wasn't even a whole year. No, I just got bored with it.
Yeah.
I just got bored of having to refill it. It was too much work.
Yeah.
So I just totally was like, okay, well, I'm done with smoking. This isn't even the same. But I was able to cold turkey just like within minutes of just walking into the place and then walking out. I was able to just switch to the vape and then within months be totally off of it. So, for people to say that, oh, I can't do it. Yeah, you can. Just quit being such a little bitch.
Well, I did a little bit differently. For me, everyone asked me, well, why don't you quit smoking, right? Everybody says, just quit. And my answer to them for a long time, I smoked for about 15 years, it was that I will quit when I don't enjoy it anymore. I like smoking. I enjoy the act of smoking. I like how it feels. I liked everything about it, except maybe stinking like smoke and having people say, "Oh, you stink like smoke." So in about 9 years ago or so, or 10 years ago now, I decided I didn't like it anymore, and I smoked for maybe a few more months after that, trying to figure out, what's going to be the best way, easiest way, because I'm kind of a bitch. Like, I don't want to, as far as like discomfort, I will admit I'm a bit of a bitch when it comes to discomfort. I don't want to do it the easiest way possible. So I got Chantix, and then I took Chantix for 3 days, and I realized, oh shit, in 4 days I'm going to actually have to stop smoking. And I placed a rush order on these nicotine-free cigarettes called Smoke Free. I remember the advertising. It says on the package they're made from the tender outer layer of the cocoa bean. So, but I knew that I would need to have some sort of...
You're a tender outer layer.
I am, though. I would need to have something to smoke on. And I switched little by little. And I remember I kept a pack.
You would have been better off going just straight to the vape.
I tried the vape and I didn't really like it. Nonetheless, I did the maybe 2-3 weeks. I did the smoke-free cigarettes, and I realized I just didn't get anything from it at one point. And I think it was for like 6 months afterwards, I walked around with the pack of cigarettes in my pocket, the like crushed up pack that had 2 cigarettes left. And it was my way of saying, like, I'm in control now. They're in my pocket and I can have one anytime I want, but I'm just choosing not to. And I never picked up a cigarette or a lighter for probably 5 years.
So speaking of little bitches, strollers.
Oh,
literally.
Now, our dreams have not come true because they have not completely banned strollers. They've not even completely banned the double wides.
Right.
But what they have done is they have shrunk, according to as Tim's
Tales from the Disneyverse
said last week, almost exactly what they said. They have shrunk the size of the strollers from 36 by 52 to 31 by 52. Now,
the by 52 is the part that I have the problem with.
I know, exactly. Because that's the width, and the 31 is just the length. And it's like, well, it's the width that's the problem most of the time. But they will strictly be enforcing the existing ban on push or pull wagons. So that means no wagons, period. I did see that there was a whole dialogue and controversy. I don't know where it ended up finally. We're going to have to look into that, about the Keens, that one Keen actually tweeted at Disney and got a response that theirs were excluded from the ban, but then somebody else tweeted out, no, that's incorrect, that they are included in the ban.
They're wagons.
So I don't know if that's been ironed out or not. I saw a lot of discussion, I think, in your group about people who were contacting Keen about the whole issue with the Keens, particularly. If you don't know what a Keen is, then it doesn't apply to you. If you know what it is.
To clarify, it's a giant wagon made of cloth. And
yes, that's all you need to know. Don't need to talk anymore
Basically,
about it.
It's a portable bed for lazy-ass kids.
Yes.
I mean, and they did alter them where you can push and not just pull, and that's how people were getting around it. Because wagons have never been allowed. You can't bring your radio flyer and pull it in, but what they did is they created a wagon.
Well, they're not the only ones. There were other push wagons.
Right. But they put a push bar on it, and that's what made it go outside the rules. But these things are, I mean, they're too big in every direction.
Now, my problem with it is, and I'm going to go straight into, because there's not really much else. There's a couple other things, but I just want to mention that my problem is that, first of all, we already know that security can't be trusted. Yeah. We have spoken ad nauseum about it. I've said the word ad nauseum about how ad nauseum. We've spoken ad nauseum about how ad nauseum it is to speak about security.
I'm getting nauseated.
Okay. But we know that security can't be trusted, so we know that there's going to be a lot of ruckuses going on at security, because you're going to have the security people that aren't measuring to see that strollers are falling into the new limits.
I guess
We
what?
have
They're going
the
to let those
strollers-
people in, and then somebody on the inside is going to say, I'm sorry, this is far over the limit. for
Or
what
the
you're
ones
allowed."
inside just aren't going to care, and they're going to be like, "Well, that's the problem of the security outside," which is more likely what's going to happen. Because then you're going to get people coming in that are being allowed in one time, and then they're going to get the security person, especially pass holders. You're going to get the pass holes,
The pass holes?
the pass holes that come one time and are allowed in by one security because they didn't measure. But then they're going to get stopped the next time by a security guy who does measure and finds out their stroller is under. Then they're going to have controversy. Well, I got it in last time, and it was after May 1st.
You guys should see Anthony's face right now. He's really triggered. Yeah. I should have taken a picture. We could have included it in the cover.
No.
He's right. That's what happens. Oh, well, they let me in last time with it. And it's like, well,
Well, that's the most likely thing that's going to start happening is that you're going to have security, like I said, which already does their job half-ass anyways. I'm going to tease this now. There will be a smashing expose on on security and things that security have allowed inside the parks at a later date. I'm just gathering info.
Oh, smashing exposés.
Let's just say that be afraid. Be very afraid.
I will say that more recently, they've been... I don't know if they're having some sort of contest for who can find something in the smallest pocket of somebody's stuff, but they are relentless. Some of them don't. They go, okay, go ahead, right? But then you've got that 30% of those security checkpoint guys. I mean, this one old dude the other day spent no less than 4 minutes going through Elizabeth's bag. And after going through the entire thing, taking out every little item, he was like, "Can you open that pocket for me?" And it was like some little thing this big that holds the Harvey's bags. They have this little thing that holds their little Harvey's cards. It's like, this small. It's like
now
2
my
inches
question
wide.
too is who's going to have the measuring tape? Is it going to be the bag check, or are they going to have the measuring tape?
I think
at
that
this metal
all
detector?
security personnel will now be supplied with measuring tapes.
Now is that going to be a
because the more they buy at
Craftsman,
one time,
Husky?
the better deal they
Now,
get.
I'm not sure. It depends on who wins the bid, and I don't believe that guests are allowed to bring measuring tapes anyway in the park. So why do they get any?
I don't see why they wouldn't be.
I don't even think we mentioned on the smoking thing. This all takes place May 1st. I kind of mentioned it, but I don't think we made it point. All of this stuff that we're mentioning that is now new rules, this all takes effect May the 1st, as in a month from this week. So just be prepared. The another interesting thing that not a lot of people I think have even mentioned. I don't even think some people have mentioned it. Disneyland will be adding a 21 by 30 inch Juvie Caboose 2 double stroller to its rental inventory.
Do you need
Did you see that?
Do you have to get there early in the morning and get a pass to get in the caboose?
You're
I
a
don't
caboose.
know, but
Thank you.
too many people checking out that cabooses.
Whoa.
So, did you see this about the stroller they're going to be adding to their inventory?
No, is there a picture?
No, there's no picture, but it's called a Juvie Caboose 2, and it is a double stroller, but it's only 21 by 38 inches, so it's not that big, but it's a double stroller, and
So they're basically saying no one has an excuse for a 52-inch wide stroller if they can get it done in 36.
Yes. And then it also says they'll be working with vendors to develop a new tandem design for the parks. So this sounds like it's even just a temporary thing, and they're developing a brand new stroller. Now, I don't know where they mentioned it, but we can go ahead and talk about the ice thing right now. And if anybody has any idea at all why, what is that?
Oh, that's the double.
Is that the Juvie?
Oh, so it's a front-back double, not a side-to-side.
Right.
Okay. So
Okay.
it's 21 inches wide, 50 inches this
No,
way.
38.
Or 38
21
inches.
by 38.
Yeah, but the 21 is side-to-side. The 38
Right.
is this way because
Right.
it's a front-back double.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So the aforementioned ice ban
Right.
is on all loose and dry ice, presumably unless it's already in a
In a
cup that you
drink?
bought downtown Disney or in the other park, I assume.
I mean, if you went
I
to
think
McDonald's,
what's going on
Because you
now.
already can't bring coolers in the park, so I don't understand what's the... See, if
Well, what I was going to say is I think that now when you get your a drink, that the ice is going to come in a bag in your cup.
wow.
No?
My question is, if you go to McDonald's or Jack in the Box before you go to the park and you've got a cup of ice with soda in it or something, or even if it's just ice, is that the issue? Is it drinking ice or is it just ice in coolers?
do you have the article that has the actual reference to the ice? Because I can't find it in any of the OC Disney ones.
It says dry ice, regular ice that's loose. We recommend ice packs.
Right. They do allow. I know they are going to allow like the blue plastic, like those gel ones that you put in the fridge and you have to, or in the freezer and you have to let it freeze. Or I assume like you can get those like cardboard ones that come sometimes with some dry ice things.
It says beginning today.
Yeah, this one's not May 1st. This is already
Oh, so this is already in effect.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you plan to bring a cooler or cooler bag to store snacks and drinks for the theme park or water park adventures, it's important to know that loose ice and dry ice are no longer permitted. We recommend you keep your items frosty with reusable ice packs instead. And it also says you can visit any quick service locations for a complimentary cup of ice.
But I thought coolers were already banned from the park years ago.
You can bring a cooler in, but then you have to put it in the locker.
Oh, so now you could bring a cooler in, but you can't have ice in it.
Well, and this also relates to water parks in Florida, too.
Right. Well, when he said water parks, I'm like, well, this has to be like 90% mostly for Florida. Maybe they've had incidents.
Yeah.
Maybe that this isn't necessarily so much for us, whereas we know the strollers, this applies to us. The smoking applies to us specifically. This is all the things that apply to us. But if this is like a all parks thing,
This was the all parks thing.
so then maybe it's something that happened at other parks, but they just
I
doing
still can't figure out what are people throwing ice and it just became like an issue?
Like, are people throwing ice on the ground and just like in cartoons?
mean, if
and
you
everybody's
have-
going, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Or
whoa.
you could freeze. I mean, technically, you could freeze anything into ice cubes.
But the thing is let's say you bring your cooler in the park, and you go to the quick service thing, and you get a couple of cups of ice, and you throw it in your cooler. What are they gonna say? You can't
What's
do
the
that.
difference? Because
No,
I
they're
don't-
complementary. So here's the thing: if let's say you go to Typhoon Lagoon and you freeze a bunch of cyanide or something into your liquid ice, I'm just trying to think of what their reasoning is, right? You freeze something that's toxic and then you pour that into the like wave pool. I mean, I'm trying to think of what reason would they have to ban it.
Well, if anybody knows anything that might have happened anywhere, email us, mousepire@gmail.com, and let us know. Otherwise, it's just going to be remaining a mystery. But just know that as of now, no more ice or dry ice. Bring your ice packs.
So real quick on the loose ice, it does say here on the blog from Disney that you can use a Ziploc bag and put your ice in that and bring it into park, or the gallon-sized bags. You can use that, or you can even use the bags that they give you in the hotel room when you put the bucket of ice. You can use those bags and bring them into the park.
So you
Tied
can
or
have
not.
ice. It just
Yeah.
needs to be in
It's
something.
not loose,
Right.
So
It needs to be
the
in
cup,
something, in something.
So I think the thing is, it's because one of the responses also from Disney said that the new ice rule is meant to streamline the bag check and entry process. So basically, is
They
they're
can
going to
pull the bag out and they can look at it.
and make sure there's no beard down way down, something like that. So that's probably what it's about.
Probably. That's a
Sneaking
good
in
point.
Alcohol.
All right, so speaking of jerks, Disneyland being one. Because that brings us to the next thing. What kind of place? I'll repeat. What kind of theme park? I'll repeat. What kind of stupid theme park
Company in general.
sells costumes in the theme park and then says you're not going to be able to wear them? What? What is your problem? Are you stupid? What is your problem?
Yeah.
That's why we had to record early.
They have announced that they will not be relaxing their costume policy for the parks, despite the fact they will be having not one, not two, possibly not even three, maybe 4 different places inside of Galaxy's Edge that will be selling legit Star Wars costumes that you won't even be able to wear in the park.
Well, yeah, because then you're too on theme with
As
the characters.
opposed to Universal, who obviously lately has been doing things better than Disneyland, starting with the aforementioned security that we have talked about many times. Ad nauseum. Universal sells Harry Potter robes, Harry Potter scarves, Harry Potter shirts,
Harry Potter
Harry
ties.
Potter pants, Harry Potter
Neckties.
sweaters, Harry Potter
Hats.
Harry Potter underwear, Harry Potter everything.
You get to dress up like a Hogwarts
And
student.
you can turn around and you can wear every single bit of it inside of Universal Studios.
Now this
Why?
is to
Because Universal Studios is not a joke.
This is to the point where when I was in Florida a couple years ago, I legit thought that people were characters in the park, and they were just like people that like to dress up and be, Hogwarts students. I will say that's probably the reason Disney's not doing it, is they don't want...
Because they're jerks.
That's their thought process, though, is they don't want people to be confused with cast members that aren't.
As opposed to Universal, who apparently doesn't care.
Yeah, exactly. But that's their reasoning.
Well, it's stupid. Now, for guests under the age of 13...
But they can wear whatever they want.
They will be able to wear whatever they want. You will be able to buy them a Jedi or whatever costume or whatever you want to get them, a First Order costume, and they can wear it because
no one 13 or under gets confused if you're a cast member.
Apparently. That's just a stupid excuse, though. I mean, none of the costumes that they're selling, with the exception of the ones that they have specifically said that they're selling that are the same as the uniform in the park, which is really weird to be doing to begin with. But the other store, the one that we've seen pictures of, none of the cast members are wearing anything remotely that looks like any of the stuff they're selling. Whether it's the Jedi costumes, whether it's the Rey costume, whether it's any of the other stuff, none of that stuff resembles anything the cast members are wearing. So that is a stupid cop-out.
Well, they will have performers like the Jedi the Jedi show.
It's still a stupid excuse.
I'm not saying it's not stupid.
Well, don't try to stick up for them.
I'm
then.
not sticking up.
Stop being the devil's advocate.
I'm giving
Just
the
admit
other side
that
of the argument.
Well, quit doing that. Admit that it's stupid and let's move on.
Of course it's stupid.
Well, then there you go. You don't have to try to defend them.
I'm not defending them. I just want people that are listening to understand why they're doing what they're doing.
No, because you don't understand. You don't know if that's why they're doing it. I'm sure they'll probably come up with...
That's what they say.
They'll probably come up with some other stupid excuse. So yeah, so that's a thing that... their reasoning is... we currently sell Stormtrooper helmets that you can't wear. That is actually mentioned in the OC Disney articles. That Disney does currently sell Stormtrooper helmets and other items that violate costume policy. So... the fact is, it's basically a do as you told, not as, or, yeah, that.
Do as we say, not as we do?
Yes, that.
Well, the Stormtrooper helmets aren't, you can bring them in the park, you just can't wear them.
Yes.
So you can, carry one, or, you just can't have it cover your face.
All I gotta say is that this announcement is gonna bring out the best in the Disney bounders. Or should I say the Star Wars bounders when it comes to the point. Because, they're going to get super creative to get around the costume ban because, they can't ban things that are just regular clothing. So you're just going to have to get super creative with your Disney bounding or / Star Wars bounding. So get on it, people. Start getting creative. Don't be lazy. Don't give in to stupid Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of stupid Disney, or something actually not so stupid and kind of smart that we did mention once before, I don't remember where did this rumor come from originally. We talked about it last week or the week before about the bathroom pass. Who brought that up?
I did.
Well, and it was the Avatar bathroom pass that they.
No, I
have.
said that there was going to be bathrooms inside of the queue lines.
Yes, that was it.
And a cast member will have to escort you.
Right. So that has now been confirmed that they will have a bathroom pass. This obviously specifically for the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run attraction, since it's the only one that's going to be open at the time. The bathroom pass will be available in the Smuggler's Run queue when the ride opens on May 31st. And then in the Resistance queue when the other attraction opens later this year. Riders waiting in the queue for the Millennium Falcon Flight Simulator will be able to get a bathroom pass from a Disney employee. They should have known better. Should say Disney cast member. And rejoin their party at the Fast Pass merge location in the attraction. So I'm assuming that this is only going to be before you get to the merge. If it happens after the merge,
then everyone's on their own. It's not teams anymore.
You're on your own. Well, no, you're on your own, and don't pee your pants. Oh. So,
well, they're probably thinking that the Fast Pass merge location is where you're less than an hour, and anybody should be able. I mean, I can't, but anybody else should be able to hold their pee for an hour, right? But prior to that, it could be who knows how many hours.
And then they mentioned that they recently debuted, as mentioned, the queue re-entry pass on Flight of Passage in Pandora, in Florida. It says visitors only need to locate a Disney employee, and they will receive a lanyard with the queue re-entry pass attached. The passes are good for individual riders or parents with children who can't endure the wait and don't want to lose their spot in line. Relieved riders, oh, I get it. They will re-enter the queue through the Fast Pass line and wait in a holding area for the rest of their party, which must continue to wait in the standby line. So, you'll get to go. You go do your business. This is obviously way before you get to the Fast Pass join point, which is usually closer to the front. You will leave, go to the bathroom, come back with your pass, go to the Fast Pass entrance. Then you will go to like an area where you wait, and you hope that you weren't doing too much number 2 and that you missed your party going by. Otherwise, you're screwed.
I mean, this could work well also for people that are having trouble standing. I know that that's what the DOS system's for, but if your party's in the line and you use the bathroom pass, then you go to do the re-entry at the Fast Pass location, and if they have, like at the Universal Parks, a little bench off to the side in their handicap waiting zone, in that area, then you can just sit there and wait the 3 hours or 4 hours for your people to show up.
It's interesting that they mentioned, this is the first we've heard of this as well, that to keep visitors entertained, fed, and hydrated, Disneyland plans to offer atmosphere talent. We already knew about the mobile app games, but also snack vending options for those waiting in line for Smuggler's Run. So not only will there be stuff going on atmosphere-wise, and it mentions talent, so there might even be like people like mini shows like inside the queue or something, but some vending options. Which
well, they do that for Radiator Springs Racers. They sell popcorn in line.
So I think this is going to be a little bit fancier than that. You would assume mentioned since it's snack vending, but I don't think there's just going to be a Star Wars vending machine on the wall. But we'll have to see what that specifically means.
They sell boxes of popcorn in Racers.
I doubt that that's what they're going to be selling in Star Wars.
No, probably something that's a little bit more
Star Wars
themed.
related. Yeah, you would hope.
Like Resistance frame broilered peanuts or something. I don't know, whatever.
Oh, I want some peanuts.
Yeah,
I got peanut
good.
M&Ms right here.
You bastard.
So now, before you could even get into the queue for Smuggler's Run and possibly have to go to the bathroom, you actually have to get into Galaxy's Edge. So that brings us to the more new information that we have about the
reservations.
About the reservation / soft opening period. It says they are restricting access. Disneyland is going
They're
to.
going to restrict the number of asses in Galaxy's Edge.
They're definitely going to restrict the number of asses. Disneyland will be restricting access to Galaxy's Edge during the soft opening period to guests staying at the 3 Disneyland hotels and a limited number of theme park visitors with reservations to the highly anticipated new themed land. No standby visitors will be permitted to enter Galaxy's Edge between May 31st and June 23rd. This is all stuff that we've basically said already, just in some words that are a little bit different. That might imply that something I implied before, that
computer reservation.
I would say that, well, no, not only that, but it implies that a majority of what the reservations for this period are going to be the hotel, because it says limited number of theme park visitors. So that seems to make it sound like that, like 3/4 of the people allowed are going to be hotel visitors, and then maybe 1/4 are going to be just people coming to the park.
I mean, you have to figure out first what's the capacity of the land. You know, let's say that they can fit 10,000 people a day into Galaxy's Edge. Then, how many people does the hotels hold? So you've got how many rooms do they have? Like 1,200 hotel rooms times probably an average of 3 people per room. So that's 3,600, and whatever that limited number is, what's left. It may not be smaller than the hotels, or it may not be bigger. We don't know. Depends on capacities, basically.
Now, to confirm something, obviously, that Tim was mentioning, a possibility of the standby line. Obviously, this puts a kibosh on that idea 100%. Not to say that if they don't end up with some not crowded areas that they might let people in. Yeah. You never know.
Well, that's what I was just thinking.
Officially, they're saying that, and they're probably not even going to let anybody try and line up for an unofficial standby line. They're officially no standby access. We don't want guests coming to the park thinking, I don't have a reservation, maybe I'll just get in the queue and I'll be able to get in. No. It's going to be limited solely to those guests that have reservations. Now, on the hotel, just to reiterate, as it does, each registered guest staying at the Disneyland Hotel, Grand Californian, or Paradise Pier during the initial 24-day window will receive 1 reservation to Galaxy's Edge. A limited number of theme park visitors not staying in one of the 3 hotels will be able to make reservations for Galaxy's Edge. Once again, using the word limited number. Disneyland has not yet released the details on how the reservation system will work. Your reservation will provide access to Galaxy's Edge and the Smuggler's Run attraction. Disneyland, now here's something that hasn't been mentioned before. Disneyland will restrict the amount of time visitors can spend in the new 14-acre themed land. Yeah. Now, that's something that hasn't been mentioned before. It is something that we know that they did kind of for cast members and I believe APs for Pandora. When Pandora opened in Florida, they had windows that they could go. This is the only thing where I think it might increase the amount of guests that will be allowed in each day during the period. But then we don't know how many guests are in the hotels. If all 3 hotels are sold out, what's the capacity of all 3 hotels? Quick, find out.
It's about 12.
Look it up.
Rooms, but...
You like looking up shit. Look it up. Find out what the capacity of all 3 hotels is. Or just how many rooms. Just assume 1. Just go with the low number, 1 person per room. How many rooms are in all 3 hotels combined, and then I'll tell you how many people per day just from the hotels will be presumably going to Galaxy's Edge, because we know now that particularly the first day, all 3 hotels are sold out.
The Disneyland Hotel has 990 rooms.
I said add them up.
I understand. I'm telling you the answer to all your... So the Grand Californian, 1,019, 481 at Paradise Pier, and 990 at the Disneyland Hotel. So basically 2,500. So 2,500 rooms, average of probably 3 people per room.
That's 7,000. So we're already near your... We're already 3/4 to your, what you said, 10,000.
There you go.
So then another quarter.
However, a lot of those people are going to have 2, 3, and 4 day trips. So, and they're only allowed a reservation one of the days on their trip. So some of them might have 7 day trips.
No, but you can't look at it just as a 1 day thing. You have to look at it continuously over the 24-day period.
Right. So over 24 days, it's probably an average of
plus going by your reasoning, if you look at it that way, anybody who has reservations the first day on May 31st, they're all going on May 31st.
Well, right. And that's probably a lot of those. On the very first day, there'll be very few of the other. And that's why they're not telling you how many.
Right.
They're not saying how many because the hotel reservations are going to... Well, but they couldn't because of the fluctuation of how many people in the rooms have access on any particular day. So it might be 7,000 people a day, or it might only be 2,000 people a day that they're allowing for reservations.
Now, another interesting thing that it does mention, and I don't know if you had seen this, if it was in some of the other information, it says Disneyland will allow an overnight lineups for the May 31st grand opening and the June 24th post-reservation date. So you will have lineups of not only the night before the May 31st opening, which is what, a Friday or a Monday or whatever it is.
Friday.
And then the June 24th post-reservation date, which is the Monday. So that Sunday night, they will be allowing overnight lineups. They will be handled similar to the queues that were formed for the 50th and 60th, and presumably also the Cars Land opening, if that was handled very similarly. Now, I don't remember queues for the 60th because we didn't show up that early.
Right.
But if they're not allowing walk-ups, then why are people going to be waiting?
Those are the people with the reservations.
Oh, with
people
the
with
reservation.
reservations.
Gotcha.
And then the people lining up for the 24th will be...
Well, that's
the day that's going to be way crazier.
So, two things. One, the amount of time they're giving people, they're going to have to relate that to how long the queue is for the individual attraction. But it would make sense. Let's say Diggs and I get a reservation for 2 people, and we go and they say, okay, you've got 4 hours. Realistically, we've got 3 hours and 45 minutes to walk around, check everything out, buy and eat and do whatever, and then 15 minutes to get in line, pretty much. Because once you're in the line, it doesn't matter how long it's for. Wouldn't you say, Diggs?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just go get in the line right at the very
I just want to
end.
know how they're going to kick you out.
Well, you're going to have some sort of wristband or whatever.
It's
that
going to
says,
shock you at your time?
No, it's your time. Yeah, they're going to let everybody in at this time period is going to go in.
I mean, that's only going to be during
Wristbands.
the reservation period.
Well,
We
yeah,
don't have
I
a
still want to
specific,
know how they're
but-
going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, they can't.
I still think they're going
I
to
mean,
do it
it's
after.
probably going to say it on your wristband what your time period is, and they might have security actually. I don't know.
No, they just won't let you get in.
Hopefully, they have stormtroopers walking around. Wristband.
You won't be able to get on a ride. You won't be able to buy anything or do anything that involves interacting with a cast member. You won't be able to cross between certain areas. You won't be able to cross into different sections of the land.
Well, I mean, that's just something we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, once again, no reservations will be needed to enter starting June 24th. Disneyland is developing a virtual queue system for Galaxy's Edge that will allow visitors to wander around Disneyland while waiting to enter the new Star Wars land. So the digital system will issue a boarding pass that will provide visitors access to Galaxy's Edge. Boarding pass groups will be permitted to enter Galaxy's Edge as the land empties rather than at specified times. So this is how things will be going after June 24th. This is all new information. So basically, you will have to use your app. You will basically apply for a time, I guess, for Galaxy's Edge, depending on when you get there. They will assign you a time. Or no, they're not going to assign you a time. You just apply. And then as people empty, they will basically notify you, like as if you're waiting for a reservation at a restaurant where you have your little vibrating thing that lights up red. They will basically vibrate you and let you know when there is an opening to come to Galaxy's Edge once people leave.
You think they're going to have little vibrating things?
It's called your phone.
Oh. All right.
It's probably going to be similar to placing a mobile order.
Basically, because the whole point is that instead of starting on June 24th, instead of having time blocks, they'll call people randomly, probably based on when you entered the system, and then once people leave, they'll page people to come and they can come in.
Yeah, it could
now.
be a texting thing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
And then also beginning June 24th, to go along with, there will no longer be a restriction on how long you can stay in Galaxy's Edge. So once you've been paged or text that it's time to come into Galaxy's Edge, you don't have to leave at any particular time. But you should probably stay in there for as long as you want.
Right.
Otherwise, you can't get in without using the virtual queue again. While entry to the Galaxy's Edge will be controlled, visitors will be able to leave through any of the land's 3 entry points, which finally answers the question of whether they'll be using all 3 for entries and exits, which
Well,
seems likely.
all three have to be exits for fire department
Well,
purposes,
I know
but
that.
they're probably only letting them in one. Probably.
Well, no, because it says lands 3 entry points. I originally thought that they would maybe use the middle opening as an exit only.
Read it very specifically. It says you will be able to exit through any of the land's 3 entry points, not that you can enter through any of the 3 entry points. You just read it. That's what you said.
But it wouldn't be called an entry point if you couldn't enter through there. It would be
It's an entry point, but they may not be, in the beginning, they may not be using it all 3 to enter. They may be entering only in one, but you can exit through any of the 3
Probably
entry
only
points.
during the reservation period.
Most likely.
But I'm talking about after that.
So,
I'm referring after June 24th. And once again, we still don't know when the reservations are going to be up. I know this guy over here probably has his notifications on for everything, just waiting for that moment.
I'm going to say it's probably...
It's going to happen while you're asleep. That's all I know.
No, because if it's going to happen the day I think it's going to happen, I'm going to have my alarm set, and I think it's going to be during the Galaxy's Edge panel. It's the Over Celebration.
I would tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
It would make sense.
Okay, I think actually it's 11 o'clock their
It would
time.
be Central.
So
Chicago would be Central.
It's 2 hours. So I believe it's 11 o'clock their time, and so yeah, I will be up at 8, around there, whatever time that is.
It seemed awfully weird if Eastern went all the way.
Diggs and I have a we're going to do Galaxy's Edge pack.
Yes.
So that way, neither of us, whichever one of us is able to get whatever reservation they have, because they're not going to do single people reservations. It's either going to be in pairs or by party up to a certain number of people.
What they're probably going to do is something similar to what they're doing for the panel lottery for Star Wars Celebration, maybe. They might even use that as an inspiration. What they're doing is they have what's called group codes, where you generate a code. One person generates a group code and then shares it with other people who want to be in the same group, and you guys put in that code when you register, and that's how they're doing the panel lottery for Star Wars Celebration.
All right, so that the Galaxy's Edge panel is on Saturday, April 13th at 11 a.m. their time. So that's 9 here. I will be up and just waiting for some type of notifications coming out.
Well, because they'll probably do that. They're in the panel, and at the very end go, the reservations are live, and then they'll let you go right on your,
Yeah, I think it's more likely that it would be at the end of the panel.
Right.
Now, the problem is that people who are there would be super pissed off if that's what happens. Let's just put it that way.
True.
Because they're going to be there, and they're going to be walking out of a panel, and you can't be on your phone trying to do your reservation while you're walking out of a panel. So that's the only reason. That's the only reason why I would argue that your way of thinking would be flawed. Otherwise, I would tend to agree with you, but that's the only thing that I might think they might do it later that day. But whatever it is that happens, I think that we're going to get a notice. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where, okay, right now, I don't know. I really don't know. It's really hard to say. I mean, they're kind of inconsistent of what they do, so we'll have to wait and see.
Inconsistent.
Speaking of inconsistency, the final bit of news that was dropped at 3 a.m. on the 28th to go along with everything else we talked about and to wrap up this whole segment is that apparently the new parking structure is ahead of schedule. I don't know how they figure that June, July opening is ahead of schedule. To me, ahead of schedule would be before Galaxy's Edge even opens.
Definitely. They should have planned it to be done before Galaxy's Edge opened.
Well, that's not their fault. They meant for the Pinocchio, or they meant for the Pumbaa parking lot to be open by the time Galaxy's Edge. That whole debacle put them behind. So they probably got this parking structure finished like in some sort of record time, and it's probably still going to get done in some sort of record time.
You know what? I'm going to disagree with what record time means anymore, because if you're Disney and you have the money to put behind it, I mean, just like, if they can do Extreme Makeover Home Edition and build nice-ass houses in a matter of 7 days, then Disney could have built that structure in 7 months if they put the money and the work behind it, hired enough people, etc. The fact that they cheaped out even a little bit by not getting it done before the land open, it's just budgets rule all, I guess.
Yeah, so right now they're looking at a late June, right, early July opening.
I heard by the end of July, if not sooner.
Well, late June, early July falls into what you just said. that's what they now. One thing interesting is that they've decided to freaking double down on Pixar, and the parking structure will be called the Pixar Pals parking structure, because instead of picking a bunch of other characters that don't get any kind of recognition around the parks, we're going to pick the thing that has been getting nothing but recognition around the parks, especially in DCA, and that's Pixar Pals. So we now know that the it's. Oh, I don't have that. Does somebody have the breakdown of the levels?
Yes, level 1 will be Incredibles. Level 2 will be Coco. 3 is Cars. 4 is Monsters, Inc. 5 is Finding Nemo, not Dory. And level 6 is Inside Out.
Now, a couple interesting things that show up when you look at that. You see that I believe it's level 2 shows Downtown Disney access, walkway access on level 2. Now, of course, if you guys have been listening, you would know that references the pedestrian bridge that we have told you that will be going across the street on the south side of that parking structure. Will be crossing the street to connect to Downtown Disney. And that is expected to open, it says, mid-September. So I assume that when the parking structure opens, that access will not be available.
Right.
But then by mid-September, when that's done, it will be available. Now, it does... Now, that will be 6,500 parking spaces. And as I said, that will open late June to late July. It says months ahead of they keep saying it was scheduled to open in September. Where did we ever see that parking structure was scheduled for September?
I've never seen that.
So that's why I'm like, how could they say it's ahead of schedule for September when we literally never saw September? But whatevs. Something also interesting there is reference to an additional 2,150 parking spaces in Toy Story that will be opening by late June. You will have to, interestingly, there will be a security bag check at Toy Story now.
That's interesting.
And that you will do that before boarding the buses. So does that mean that the new checkpoint that they just built...
That's for walk-ups. That's for people walking into the resort.
Okay, but people who have already been through this...
Let me just get to this. We need to hurry up. So basically, the K-Lot's going to be gone.
Well, yeah, I hadn't got there yet.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to hurry up. K-Lot's going to be gone for for cast members.
It's going to be called Bullseye.
Yes, and they're going to have the new parking area over there. You're going to go into a bag check before you get on the bus. Of course, head over to the parks. I'm guessing one side of the new area it's going to they're going to have to block it off.
Yeah.
Maybe there will just be one side for drop-offs. Will probably be on the south side.
Far left. Yeah.
That would be the drop-off.
Where you usually get on.
Right. And then maybe they'll bring the line on this side.
That's the only thing that they really can do, because, I mean, they can't. It would be weird if they're going to have you bag check over there and then still have to obviously go through some security still, but then you still have to have the people walking up from Harbor.
Basically, the checkpoints on the right and the left side are going to be open for bus drop-off, and they just walk into the park.
Right. And then
the other buses that drop off, the art buses
that's not the same.
No, I'm saying those buses are like walk-up. They're coming from all the other neighbor hotels.
That goes without saying. And then also the additional toll lanes and parking spaces at the 2 garage will increase capacity by 50%. They will add 16 parking toll lanes, 33 security bag check lanes, and electronic parking sensors in both structures. And then they're hoping, obviously, that never again will they have to redirect from Mickey and Friends / Pixar to Toy Story, that basically you're either doing one or the other. They shouldn't have to do any redirects once these all open. All right, man, that was a lot.
A lot of stuff.
That was a lot of stuff. To all the haters out there, too bad. Go smoke your cancer sticks someplace away from children.
All right, so we got some news about Extravaganza 2019.
Extravaganza?
Yeah, it's coming back to...
You're an egg.
It's coming back to the Disneyland Resort, and it's going to start this Friday, April 5th through April 21st. And nothing really much to say, just The map is $6.99 plus tax. Usually, they always say there's no discounts for APs, but they've been giving discounts for APs the last 2 years. And, of course, you can go to the Disney Showcase in Disneyland or Elias and Company in California Adventure, and, of course, the World of Disney in Downtown Disney to get your maps and your eggs. They got some cool-looking eggs this year. They have a Maleficent egg. Dumbo. And the Mickey and Minnie look a little different this year, a little darker. So, yeah, you can go and, of course, do your egg hunt. And, of course, always rant about how when you're trying to do your egg hunt and you got people spoiling it for you when you're looking for the eggs and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, you can go and get your maps, get your stickers, and look for the eggs all over the resorts. Of course, you have to buy the 3 different maps for the 3 different areas. I actually will be doing this on Friday, April 5th. I'm going to be heading out to the parks. I was going to try to join Dan and his kids on Friday. We talked about going there and doing it. He said he had something going on that he forgot about that he has to go to. So I'll be doing it on Friday, and we'll see how that goes, just for fun. I like doing the egg hunt. That was probably one of my favorite things to do. I didn't do the, Valentine's Day one? Or
I didn't even see the Valentine's.
Yeah, I didn't even care about that one. But this one, I think it's more fun to find these ones. So, yeah, it starts on Friday, April 5th. And like I said, going through April 21st. $6.99 plus tax for your map and stickers. Hey, guess what? Jessie, Critters opened up.
It did.
It is open, and it's not even April.
So my question for you is was that your photo with the strollers? Or was that a photo that you grabbed?
No, that was my photo.
Yeah, I would have moved the stroller.
Now,
Diggs took a really good picture of it. Was real. I mean, I applaud you. It was a fantastic photograph. But there's these 3 strollers that people left behind in the picture.
It was right there in front of the marquee with Jessie and the signage for the new attraction. Of course, we're talking about over in Pixar Pier. It opened ahead of schedule because it was supposed to open sometime in April. And it wasn't even April yet. And they had the soft opening. Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's just open. No fanfare or anything. And people were already writing it. I went over there to check it out. Took some pictures, video. And so it's open if you guys want to go over there and wait in that long line. I don't know why you would, but hey,
it's just a carousel.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because I saw Jeff there, and Jeff's like, "Are you going to get on it?" Like all excited and everything. I'm like,
"No,
dude, it's a carousel."
Yeah.
I mean, what's
big? Like 75.
So anyway, just not to talk crap or anything, but Dan, the man, actually did go on it yesterday.
What did he ride?
I will tell you in a minute, or maybe less.
I think that they did a fantastic job with the Jessie and the sign and the overall theme. But again, it's just a carousel.
All right, so here's the picture of Dan on
big old Dan on a little blue dog.
So yeah, Dan went on it yesterday. He was there with his kids, so they all got on that. But
he doesn't look like he's having fun.
He's like, why am I on here, and why are you taking my picture?
Why are you taking my picture?
Do we get a review of the ride from him in his email? Do you know?
The question will be is did he send in an email?
Oh wow!
Because I did forget. I did forget.
Oh, you forgot to tell me we were recording today.
I was going to before we started, and I forgot.
Well, he has time.
So
tell him.
Hey, we are.
Hey, we're recording right now.
Recording
right now,
and I forgot to tell you. But then again, you guys know I forget everything.
Hey, so that's crazy. That opened early. Huh? What day was that supposed to open?
It said April.
Oh, it just said April.
It said April.
Well, it's April.
Yeah, well, it opened before April.
What day did it open? Friday?
Thursday or Friday.
Oh, that's interesting.
I was there on Friday, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
now
I was there on Friday.
Now that's called opening ahead of schedule.
There you go. Yes.
That's opening ahead of schedule because you said
fanfare.
Because you said April and it's open in March. Don't say, well, we told you September and then say June, July, but you never said September and then open in June, July. Hey, so another piece of Pixar Pier is finally open. Just another few months and it'll finally be open. Maybe by the time Galaxy's Edge is done, all of Pixar Pier will be open.
Don't hold your breath.
I know I'm not, because we haven't heard nothing about when Inside Out is supposed to open.
Well,
so.
I went on the Incredicoaster.
September.
I went on Incredicoaster when I was there with the family, and I looked down in that area, and all you can see is just flat land. Maybe some sort of foundation, not sure.
So they haven't even started
I
it
haven't
yet?
seen anything started there.
Okay. Christmas.
We'll see. But hey, we also got some news of a new attraction coming to DCA. Or is it new? Well, it's new for us.
It's new for anybody who has never been to Magic Kingdom in Florida since 2003. You know what I like about this?
What?
Donald
Duck.
Donald Duck.
So we're talking about Mickey's PhilharMagic, as will be premiering over in DCA in April.
You know, when I saw this and I saw Donald, I got excited, and I was thinking it was going to be something like based on like Math Magic Land or something like that, because you know how much I like Math Magic Land. So I was like, ooh, that's cool. But then I was like, ooh, it's cool, still cool. It's like Phantasmic with Donald.
So what was it, last week or a couple weeks ago? You were saying, oh yeah, because we were talking about you're doing the Dumbo sneak peek in the Lincoln Theater, and like, why are they doing it there? Why not over at the Sunset Showcase Theater?
Yeah, for a couple months now, we've been talking about how when what was the last thing that was in the Wreck-It Ralph
was in Tomorrowland.
Not Ralph, the one that was in Sunset Showcase.
That was the Nutcracker.
Nutcracker. When the Nutcracker ended, you know, there was nothing in there, and they just been working on it. And we couldn't figure out how come they went over to Disneyland and they put the ones over at Tomorrowland, and then, you know, of course we know that the Bugs Land theater is closed, so we were just wondering what was going on, and then, you know, now we get our answer that obviously been working on the inside, because instead of just being like a half-ass remodel like they've done with everything since they took Muppets out, because presumably there's probably still was Muppets parts in there somewhere.
All of the Muppets stuff was in there still. The orchestra, the Penguin Orchestra was in there, and
even the stuff in the antechamber, the prep room before you go into the theater. You had to figure that was stuff was still in there, because when we would go in there and there'd be like costumes or something, there would just be like black drapery all around, so you could see that the stuff was probably still on the walls. But you have to figure that now they finally are probably, because we're getting no time from. First of all, how long do we think this is going to be here? Do you think this is something that's going to be for a while?
I'm going to say yes, it will be here for a while.
So I'm guessing the same. I think that they're definitely changing the whole inside, and that hopefully it's going to be done proper, and it's going to be like its own attraction, like back to when it was Muppets. Now, some history on this, that when I mentioned it, I was told, oh, I've been on that. I'm like, oh, interesting. So then I looked, and it's been in the Magic Kingdom in Florida since 2003? Oh, so you're giving us an old attraction again. That's nice. But I haven't heard anything bad about it. Everybody that I've heard, Tim said it's good. So
this is going to be a 3D movie musical with Anthony did mention Donald Duck in there, and of course on the picture has Donald popping out of the screen. Looks really cool. Music sequences from Beauty and the Beast, A Little Mermaid, to Peter Pan and Aladdin. Now, as Anthony mentioned, Tim has seen this in Florida.
Yeah, I saw it both times I was there, multiple times each, like 2 or 3 times each trip, because it was just so good. In Florida, you start with one screen in front of you. It's like, it's got the red drapery, so to speak, and then that opens up. And then at some point during the show, almost before you're even able to notice that it's happening, the red drapes to the side of the screen also open up, and you've basically got a giant triple panoramic screen in front of you.
It's almost like a half circle vision.
1/3 circle vision, more so, but yeah, pretty.
Oh, okay.
So because of that, it's kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? It's really mind-blowing.
Of course, we do know that theater does have screens on the side because of the way that Muppets was designed with the interactive size of the theater. So
Hopefully
it may
they
not be
expand on that.
exactly like what you saw, but it's still going to be a step up from, you said that the one in Tokyo or Paris
yeah.
does not have
The
3
side
screens. So
yeah.
it definitely sounds like we're going to get someplace in between that.
I just am glad that it's here. The music's great. The story's really fun. You know, I'm a big Donald lover. You know, I love Mickey, but I also love Donald. He's probably the funniest of the Fab Five. I mean, Goofy and Donald pretty much on equal footing there, but I prefer Donald myself. You know, I mean, the story, I'm not ruining it. Everybody's going to see it. The story is basically that he like picks up Mickey's sorcerer hat and starts to try to, I want to be the conductor, and things go, you know, surprisingly horrible.
Oh, really? Now, real quick question. We know that Donald has a temper issue. And
Yes,
gets
very
mad.
much so.
Who's worse, Donald or Anthony?
Definitely Anthony. Donald is, how do we say, like, Donald is, you know, beloved and cute when he freaks out. Oh, look, Donald's mad. Anthony's just annoying. So that's what's going on. No, you know, they call it Mickey's PhilharMagic because really you're going in to see Mickey's show, and then Mickey's like, "I'll be right back," you know, "Oh, I'll be right back," you know, and then Donald like, "Oh, look, I'm going to be sneaky. I'm going to put on. Let me see what I can do," and then it's
okay.
So it's like a misleading name, regardless.
it is very much. Mickey's
Now,
only in the very beginning and the very end.
Now I have a question that this refers to it as 3D. The one in Florida is referred to as being 4D.
Maybe that's because of
Does the one in Florida have more movement than what this theater is capable of, or because usually that's what the 4D refers to is the
movement,
the movement and the lights and the water and stuff like that. Now we know that theater is obviously capable of those things, but is the one in Florida have more than what this one's capable of? Is that why they're not referring to it as 4D?
I think they built this theater in Florida for this show.
Right. Well, yeah, that's obvious.
So the version here...
Well, no, actually it wasn't. It took over for another show. When I was doing my research, it took over for another show.
You remember what that is?
No, but it took over for another show.
Huh. But I mean, they may have gutted it and like did a
like what
yeah,
they're doing now. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So
the building was redesigned specifically for the show.
For the
Let's
show.
say
That's
that
what I
way.
meant.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what I
and
meant.
presumably so is this one, but they still have to do work with what they have.
So either there's less movement stuff going on in the Sunset Theater,
right?
Or
that was the only thing.
the fact that it won't have a triple screen as the 4D.
Maybe that's what it is. Even though we know that they could do projections on the sides, it may not be equipped
It's not
to
like
do
a full projection.
It
It's
may
like
not be
certain
equipped
areas.
to do full projections, because we have seen during some of the previews that they've shown. Because not only during Muppets did they have the projection of the actual theater onto the side, but during some of the previews we've seen, like in a certain preview where there's like water or something, there'll be water splashing up. Right. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What date does this open, Diggs?
April.
Just April?
Yes.
It doesn't say like the 12th or
obviously
because
I just said April.
Well,
so
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Real quick, this replaced The Legend of the Lion King.
Oh, that's what it was.
Oh,
in Florida.
And
so
actually, I think
never
that
went there during that.
And I think that actually replaced something else. So I think this was already like the third thing in that theater.
But it's been, I mean, this thing's ran 16
still
years.
going,
Yeah, it replaced Mickey Mouse Review.
That was it.
And Magic Journeys.
Now you said it was 2003 that this was started in Florida?
Yes.
And that was the first year that I went. So I was there in October or end of September to early October 03. And I was there during their like birthday. But that was like the last day.
This opened on
there.
October 8th of 2003.
Oh, wow. So we saw it then.
This first
we
running.
saw it then that very first few days without realizing it. 'Cause there wasn't much of a line. I must have been on a soft, or maybe a soft opening that we saw it during. And then actually, no, I've been 3 times to Florida. So I saw it twice during the next visit, or 3 times, and I saw it at least twice with Elizabeth the last time.
So yeah, this is going to open in sometime this month. There's no date on that. We can probably expect some soft openings, and we'll see how that goes. right, so yeah, I was on the parks on Friday. Just went just to go hang out and chill and everything like that. And before I left my house, got the word that Disney decided to release some Dumbo items.
Yep.
One was a popcorn holder. They say bucket, but it's not a bucket. And the other was a sipper, with a Dumbo sipper. So basically, it was a Casey Jr. train, and you have to buy both of them. The sipper was 18 and the popcorn holder was 17. And of course, you put them together and you make a train. Now, I was...
What's the quality like on them? Are they like really good?
I have some information about that. I took a picture of the side of the box.
Okay, well, skip that part.
Nonetheless, they're a small run, at least for here. It was about 5,000 pieces per thing. It's a different manufacturer than they've been using recently. This company's called Index Productions. The previous company is called Whirly Drinks. I have an opinion about that. Whirly Drinks, I think two things happened. One of two things happened. One, they just couldn't reach the production goal. They couldn't get them made in time for the release date. These are also in Hong Kong as of the same day, so that they at least 15,000 per. Was Hong Kong, Florida, and Disneyland all got them. Florida was 1 day later. So the other thing that happened is that they've just screwed up those Mickey balloons things so bad that Disney gave the contract to somebody else, and I think that's just as likely.
Can I speak on the Mickey balloons thing real fast? That you guys said those came and it went to like super quick, right? Did you get any?
Which ones?
The mini.
The minis are back today, but they were gone. We got two, and then they come back as of today. Actually,
have you noticed yours or any others the white dots the paint being cracked?
I'll have to look at it when I go home.
Okay, make a point of that. Anybody who bought a mini, one of the balloon popcorn buckets, make a note of whether your white paint is cracking, because I went to Property Control. They had over a dozen of them. Every single one of them, the white paint was cracked. Like, how paint cracks when it's overexposed to the sun?
Yeah.
They were all like that.
Interesting.
And I'm guessing that is not only with the issues that they had with the black and white AP one, that with so many being trashed because of damage, that they probably lost out on more than quite a percentage of the mini ones because of the paint cracking damage. So your theory about them changing companies because of issues with those last ones, it's just another one of those things that I've been meaning to tell you guys about, that I thought was very, very interesting.
Well, Whirly screwed up in the past.
Especially if you're saying that the minis are back now.
Yeah. The Whirly screwed up in the past. There was a vampire bucket that they did a second paint job on. They did, and there was huge amounts of overspray full-on drips coming down and stuff.
Oh, and those you're talking about the vampire Mickey with like this?
Yeah.
And that one, the paint cracked
off the gloves.
Just flaked off.
Yeah. They got their act together a little bit since then, but maybe these 3 balloons all at the same time pretty much were too much for them to handle. Is it there, the drip of the cracks?
No, but you see there is a flaw right there in that one?
Yeah.
I don't see any cracking per se in these, but I do see a lot of flaws in the white paint.
Well,
anyways, go back.
I just think that it's very likely that Disney said, "Oh, you're not sure if you can do the thing? Well, you also screwed up major on this other deal, so we're just going to give the contract to this other company." There's a tiny...
because like I said, we had one of those vampire Mickeys where the paint was just not cracking, just flaking off in huge chunks.
Yeah. Now, Elizabeth said she looked at a lot of the ones that were hanging to see. She looked through them a lot, and the trains at least, and said that there's a little bit of overspray here and there. But
the thing with the trains, the Dumbo stuff, it doesn't look like there's a lot of really paint. It looks like it's actually all different colored plastic, which looks like it's probably led to a lot of improvement in quality control, just because each piece is different colored plastic.
Not just that, but the actual train smokestack removes from the train, and it's a whistle that sounds like a choo-choo whistle.
I read that.
and it's super cool. The quality overall in these things is one of the best quality I've seen from a U.S. bucket.
I would say that you can give this to a little kid, a toddler, to play with, and
as an actual toy.
It will last for a while.
So they're gone already?
They were there today. They had some today. I know that we had a couple friends that wanted them, and Brittany was there today, and she grabbed like one or two more for us. So if they're gone, I'm not surprised at all because they only had 5,000 production. The train was like 24 times whatever number of boxes, and the Dumbo trailer part was 40 times whatever.
We don't care about your math, Tim.
It's whatever it is. It's a small number for each park that got them. All
I know is that it's actually a really good looking set, and I actually kind of disappointed that I'm not going to get one.
Now on price,
that I would have rather I told Rebecca that I would have rather had that than had the Mike and Sully pair.
Now on price, how much would the Mike and Sully set total? About $36.
Probably
16 plus 20.
Yeah, Mike was I believe 18, and Sully was.
Depends on what you got with it. So yeah,
I think mine. No. It was the Sully that.
Sully's 20.
It was the other way around. Sully was 18. Was he 18 or was he 20? I think it was 18.
20.
Okay, the Mike I got for 12 because I just got it with a drink. So yeah, so like $32 then.
Okay,
$34. Yeah, $32.
These were priced weird. The
what was
bucket,
it, 18 and 17? Is that what it was?
Well, the bucket part with the train was $17 flat at all the popcorn stands, or the two stands that had
which seems cheap considering it's better than some of the buckets they've sold for more.
Right now, that came with a strap, the whistle, all this stuff. It was twice the size of the other one, almost right, but almost twice the size, not quite. That's $17.
Well, I see where you're going with this.
The Dumbo train with no lanyard.
You just answered your own question.
As a sipper was $17 if you got it in Fantasyland near Red Rose Tavern. If you got it with a Coke, or if you got it with a lemonade, or along the parade route in Fantasyland with a lemonade, because they don't have Cokes over there, it was $18. So for them to charge the same or more for something that it didn't add up for me.
I'll tell you, I've been trying to imply that you've already answered your own questions because it's Dumbo.
I mean,
that's all there is to it.
They probably knew they had a limited number, and people were gonna buy them no matter what.
No, that's all there is to it. The fact that it's Dumbo himself is the sipper, that's why they could charge more, as opposed to the Casey Jr. train, which not as many people. I guarantee there's probably not even that many people who bought Casey Jr. and didn't get Dumbo.
Well, I think that's the other reason. That's the other reason is because
there's probably people who bought Dumbo but not Casey Jr. But there's probably very few people who bought Casey Jr. and not Dumbo. Would you agree?
Casey Jr. is a standalone. The Dumbo looks stupid unless it's unconnected to the Casey Jr. though.
No, I disagree.
I think they made them.
I think
sold
there's
them
people
in different
that
locations
are Dumbo fans that would have just bought the one.
I'm not sure about that. I just know that the lines were pretty equal, right? Wouldn't you say? It was pretty much the same in both for both popcorn and sippers.
When I went there, the lemonade stand, frozen lemonade on the parade route was way longer than by the tavern. Okay. I went to the tavern and I got a drink, just a regular drink. So
Coke Zero.
I mean, and that sipper is pretty big. I mean, and the quality of it looks like, is it the same plastic as the Pluto popcorn bucket? It looks like it's the same.
It's a different company, so it's all of it's different.
Are you sure? Because you sure that Pluto isn't made by that company? Because it seems the quality seems, because that Pluto is still one of the best made popcorn buckets that they've ever had.
If you have a Pluto, you could probably look inside and see who made it.
Oh, I would. It's up above. I'm not going to get up there and get it. But the just looking at Dumbo, it looks like the same kind of plastic as the but. Anyways, yeah, it looks cool. Hopefully, it comes back and that everybody who didn't get one can get one. But otherwise, if you did get one, then good job.
Thank you. And speaking of Dumbo, hey, the movie came out.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
I'll tell you what I liked about it.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll tell you what I did what I didn't like.
Okay.
That's usually how reviews go, right?
I guess so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, we'll start with somebody else. Go ahead. Because you guys, I assume, both liked it and had no complaints.
Okay, I know what I liked about it. I liked the effects of, was it Dreamland? Was that what it's called, right? Dreamland?
Yes.
That was pretty cool. I like the effects on that.
AKA Disneyland. Basically.
Yeah, basically. And I also like the Death Star in there. Not going to say anything. You'll find out if you haven't seen it where the Death Star is in Dreamland.
I must have missed the Death Star.
I must have
somehow.
missed that too because there's actually a Death Star in there.
All right, what else did I like about it? I mean, I liked it. I liked the story. It was pretty cool. I don't know. I don't know about what I didn't like. I'm curious to hear what you say. Maybe if I agree or not. I mean, I don't think it was the best movie in the world. It was cool. It was nice. It was.
I will say it's my
entertainment.
least favorite of all of the live action adaptations so far, and that's just goes to say that I haven't seen. I still have never seen Maleficent.
Tim.
You know,
We know you have bias. Not as much bias as Elizabeth, but we know you have bias.
I really liked it. It wasn't like I didn't leave going, oh my God, that was so amazing. I need to go 10 more times.
Exactly.
But I really thought it was amazing. I thought it wasn't super Tim Burton in the way that like it's almost overbearing sometimes. His stuff is like super too much Tim Burton-esque. I thought it was right at the right level. I thought they did a great job expanding the original story. You know, for those people that haven't seen Dumbo or don't know the original story, it's the shortest Disney movie ever made. It's far less than an hour. It's like 52 minutes or
Less
something.
than an hour, definitely.
So it's, I think it could even be as short as 48 minutes.
And if you take out the racism, it's probably like 39 minutes.
Okay. Well, you know, Dumbo in the original is pretty much a triumph over adversity situation. There's not really a villain that's, you know, there's the people that separate him from his mom. But I think
you're talking about the original.
Yeah, the original. Even that part is presented more as kind of a facts of life thing, you know?
Which was the sign of the times, because if you look at that coupled to stuff like Bambi, where it didn't really have a villain other than maybe the hunters who kill, spoilers, the kill Bambi's mom, you know, you don't really have a
It's the same thing, but it's facts of life. Hunters
Right.
kill deer, and the baby, they don't kill baby deer, though. They only kill adult deer, and that's why baby deer have to go through that situation. Same thing with Dumbo. You know, elephants are separated from their babies at a certain point in those circus-type situations. It's just, again, it's a facts of life
But
type of
as
thing.
with both situations, both things still are wrong because hunting is wrong, and the way animals are run in circuses was obviously wrong. So it's both a lesson. Both are a lesson on, well, this is what happens to nature when man steps in.
I won't get into that. Nonetheless, the story's very different. You know, they present movies today. There has to be a villain. There's got to be a bad guy. There's got to be good characters triumphing over evil characters. You know, something like that in every movie, in every reality show, in every, you know, there's got to be a goal of something they've got to reach or whatever. So Michael Keaton plays the bad guy, so to speak. You know, he's a good guy, bad guy. He's the guy that's running the competing Disneyland of the East Coast, sort of Dreamland.
He's Bob Iger.
He's probably the Disney of, you know, he plays more of a Walt Disney type character.
If Disney was alive now and he was evil and
right. Yeah, but he's all the evil one. He's gonna, you know, make promises that aren't really what they are, and you know, he basically tries to spoilers a bunch of stuff, and you know, they got to go against him. So I thought it was well done, and some of my favorite parts of the movie were the Dreamland stuff, because it's just such a cool thing. I mean, I would like to explore the area in a 3D environment, not to ride the rides, but just to see what all really is there, because
I'm sure there's a lot of Easter eggs in Dreamland. There's so many overhead shots of it that there's probably stuff that we can't see, attractions that we can't see.
That's why I want to explore it, yeah, because there's so much that they go so quickly you can't see what it is. You know, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't, you know, make sense about what they did. You would think that they would want Dumbo to stay with his mother, because that would make him want to fly in the circus, and everybody can make a bunch of money. But for some reason, they don't think that's what's going to happen.
Well, because it's part of the story, the original story, to separate from their mother, and they felt like they probably wanted to keep that. My turn is that visually, it was a beautiful movie.
Incredible.
The director of photography, whoever that was, I forgot to look that up. I don't know if it's somebody that Burton uses normally, but some amazing shots. Unfortunately, some of my favorite shots are in the trailers. Unfortunately, and I hate it when that happens. One of my favorite shots is, just some of the overhead, whether they're boom or helicopter or drone shots. Some of the overhead shots of like the fields. The shot from the very first trailer where it comes up and you see the weather vane from the end of the movie. The shot of Eva Green riding Dumbo in the night sky. That's a great shot. Visually, the pink elephant sequence.
That was cool.
Beautiful.
That was cool.
As far as Tim Burton goes, it's 100% a Tim Burton movie, but then at the same time, it's completely off of what Tim Burton usually does.
That's
because
what I
it's
meant.
not dark. Like Tim Burton usually tends to take things too dark, which is what I think most people who were Tim Burton, I'm not even going to waste my time. It's because they thought he was going to turn it super dark. It didn't actually turn super dark. Now, there is some dark. Once they get to Dreamland, there is a lot of darkness in Dreamland, but that's intentional, and that just shows...
To show you that it's not a happy
show
place.
you that difference between the family, quote-unquote, family-run circus compared to the big conglomerate. And a lot of people are saying that Dreamland versus Medici Brothers is a whole like Disney, gobbling up Fox and stuff like that. I don't know why, if that is the case, why Disney would allow a joke like that to be.
That's silly because Fox was already a big conglomerate.
Yeah, I know that's the thing. But I mean, Disney just does like to gobble up stuff, and Dreamland as a metaphor for Disney itself seems a bit of a stretch so that a Disney would even allow that to be even look like that could be a case. But
Well, that's why I said that he was a Walt Disney-esque type of character.
He's way more evil than Walt.
No. Totally evil, but in the way that he had investors and he wasn't really the money guy,
I'll get to Alan Arkin in a minute.
Okay.
I want to say that, like I said, it's not as dark in most overall as what a usual Tim Burton movie is, but it has that same feeling of belonging that all Tim Burton movies have, going back to Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, stuff like that, where it's that original, that needing someplace of your own where you feel at home, family, the idea of family and stuff like that. It's all stuff that goes all the way back, even later on with stuff like Big Fish and some of his great movies like that. Or you get that same kind of feeling from this. Like I said, beautifully shot. The effects were good. Sometimes I thought that Dumbo looked too cartoony, but then at the same time, you can't really make an elephant that isn't really looking like an elephant anyways. You can't really avoid making it look cartoony, so you almost might as well make it cartoony just for the sake that, well, we know that this is fake, so might as well make it look like that. So then it gave him the freedom to have Dumbo have more expression and things like that. The music was phenomenal. It was like, when I came out, I immediately got on Twitter and I saw somebody comment about the music, and I said that it was basically my favorite part of the movie. I mean, I have made no secret how much I love Danny Elfman throughout the years. There's people that complain about Danny Elfman. I don't know why, because they're stupid and they're probably big old Oingo Boingo haters, but they can go hate someplace else because the music for Dumbo was phenomenal. It's probably one of my favorite Danny Elfman scores of all time, right up there with stuff like Beetlejuice and Batman and things like that. But obviously, speaking of Batman, we got a big reunion between Michael Keaton and Danny DeVito from Batman Returns, almost with a reverse of roles. That Michael Keaton's obviously playing the baddie, and Danny DeVito is the kind of the good role. I thought that Danny DeVito could have been used a little bit better, but he's always great when he's on screen, and I saw
Regardless
people
of what
complaining
he's
about Danny DeVito's performance, but no matter what, he always has this magic when he's on screen, especially that scene in the field when Vanderdyke proposes to him.
It's not happening, not happening.
And that shot, that whole sequence is just beautifully shot. and Danny DeVito just staring off into space, and then you go into the Dreamland, and you're not sure if Danny DeVito, for a second there, you're not sure if Danny DeVito's dreaming about what would happen if he joined and went to Dreamland, or whether it's actually happening. And until you actually, there's a few moments before I actually realized whether, I don't know if you guys felt that way, that you guys thought that he might have been dreaming at first. Because Danny DeVito, he gives him the idea, and then Danny DeVito's character is just, Medici's just kind of staring off into the field, and then it switches to the shot of Dreamland and them, the big procession coming in.
Right.
There's a second there where it makes it, the transition almost makes it seem like Medici's dreaming. That, this is what's going to happen if I join him.
Oh.
But then it actually ends up that's in live because he actually did join
I didn't
them.
get that, but
that's what I
makes
got out of
sense.
it. But yeah, I thought that Eva Green was great using her real accent, which she usually doesn't get to do. That's her real French accent because she is French. Obviously, if you've seen like A Dame to Kill For or Casino Royale and stuff like that, it's not always her. That's not her accent. And this, you actually get to hear her accent. Colin Farrell, surprisingly, with a really great American kind of Western accent. Colin Farrell is just usually great all around whenever, and I think he does a lot of carrying of the movie with his performance, and I thought he did really well.
I mean, you loved him and hated him at the same time during this movie. There was parts where you were like, man, this guy's a jerk.
Right.
Like,
but then you get it at the same time, the shit that he's been through. I mean, war will change anybody and turn anybody into a kind of a jerk. So,
and coming back from war and realizing your whole world shattered.
And I just wanted to point out real quick. I wanted to point out real quick that the daughter, people may not know this, but she is the daughter of Thandie Newton, who played Val in Solo.
Oh, okay.
The woman who gets killed on the train, who was partners with Beckett.
No, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that's her daughter in real life, and it's her first acting gig, and so that's kind of cool. Now I'm just going to get right into the story. Was shit. The story had really the story kind of went all over the place. It kind of went one way. Oh, let me back it up real fast. I forgot I was going to mention Alan Arkin. Alan Arkin is always great.
He was fun.
Alan Arkin is amazing. You can just throw a little like 5-minute role for him, and he turns it into like he should have been in the whole damn movie.
It took me a while to figure out who it was. I can't remember who it was.
It's so dry and just
I kept seeing
sarcastic.
I kept imagining Peavy from Rocketeer.
Yeah,
because that's like one of my and a few other things is like one of my favorite roles of his. And I just kept seeing that. But, it's just like he was totally underused in that movie. But, like, when he was there, he got it done. Even just sitting there on the couch by himself, he's like...
You know who else I really liked that they used really well in here, too?
The guy,
let's get ready for Dumbo!
I was going to mention that guy. I knew immediately that it was the actual boxing wrestling guy.
He owns that. No one else can use it.
Right. And I just want to say that I thought it was interesting that he's the one who got to quote the racist crows. Because he said, I've seen an elephant fly. I ain't never seen a horse fly. I seen a house fly. Were you not paying attention?
I must have missed that was a direct quote. But
yeah, that's the direct quote from the crows.
You're a crows.
I've seen that movie. I forgot to mention the snake charmer was the assistant to the Maharaja, the bad guy in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. In case you didn't recognize him,
he's been in a ton
he was also one of Gandhi's right hand man in Gandhi, and he actually hasn't really done that much since then. But he was I recognized him immediately.
Oh, he was in Street Fighter.
Oh yeah, he was Dulcim in Street Fighter. But those are his three main things since then.
Yoga Flame.
Yoga Fire. So getting back to the story, which was to me all over the place. They didn't really seem to know where they were going with the story from 1 minute to the next. Even once they get to Dreamland, it's like you said, there was no reason to separate. It was just for the sake of separating the mother. There was no reason to do it. Just like all of a sudden, the mother being there in the nightmare place just seemed like, oh well, that's convenient.
Right.
It was just I'm just
What do
gonna
they
say
call
right.
that? It's a certain type of plot device they call that, where it allows the story to move forward. But
Right.
It's not the MacGuffin. It's the
It's a stupid MacGuffin.
you call it that too.
I'm just going to point out real fast that it's no surprise to me that the story of the movie was kind of all over the place and bad, because I will just point out this is the same guy who wrote the last two Bay Transformer movies. This is the same guy who wrote the Ring movies. This is the same guy who wrote Reindeer Games with Ben Affleck.
Affleck.
Yeah, just basically no surprise that the story was kind of eh. And basically my only complaint, if you go into the movie with not expecting much of a story and just kind of a fun, visually pleasing movie, you will be pleased. But if you go in expecting some deep story about anything that is a straightforward story that just moves along and goes where it's supposed to go, then you'll be disappointed.
I mean,
But,
again, it's just for the movie. But the other thing that didn't make sense to me is the fact that I laugh because it's like at some point capturing Dumbo became more important than the whole theme park existing.
Oh, right, right.
Like, it's like their priorities were super screwed up, and the things just didn't quite add up. But
Anyway, hey, I got the cinematographer.
Okay.
It was Ben Davis.
Okay.
He did 3 Billboards, Guardians of the Galaxy,
Oh, well.
Doctor Strange,
Oh.
Captain Marvel.
Well, we know Doctor Strange was visually stunning.
yep. What about the director of photography? Is it the same guy?
That's what he's talking about.
And Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Oh, so he's not a Dumbo or a Burton guy. Then he's a
Disney guy.
Disney guy. That's interesting.
He's done a lot of other movies.
Cool. Well, I mean, those are all movies that are visually stunning. So, I mean,
He also did Kick Ass.
I wouldn't call that a visually stunning movie, but I'm sure it was well shot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, Dumbo was beautiful. It had beautiful sound. The acting was fine. It's just the story seemed to be all over the place and didn't really seem to go in, and it had a lot of things that, like you pointed out, despite getting mostly favorable reviews from what I've seen, which has actually kind of surprised me, especially since I was kind of going into it with low expectations. It didn't do very well. It actually is the worst opening for a live-action adaptation of all of them, including going all the way back to Maleficent and including even, I think, Pete's Dragon.
Wow.
It's the lowest opening of any of the live-action adaptations. I think, what was it, 47? I think is what it did, something like that. Well, it was either 47 or 60 something. I know that it needs to do well overseas to hit budget. I believe the budget was 120 million. So it needs to do well overseas. It needs to do well overseas to hit budget, or else it will be a disaster, and it may cause Disney to reevaluate which adaptations become theatrical releases later on, since obviously we know that they have certain adaptations like Lady and the Tramp that have already been earmarked for Disney Plus release. This may give them...
That won't have a budget like that.
No, but this may give them pause to give too high of a budget to anything that may not necessarily do well, and that it would just be straight to Disney Plus things like Lady and the Tramp is what I'm getting at. We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, they may give him, because it's Burton, they may give him a little bit more leeway. Like I said, also, hopefully it does well overseas, and it will at least make up for it over there. And maybe it might even get some second word of mouth, and you might get some, at least kids that might get, or parents taking it to see it on second weekends.
I hope so, but if this bombs, we've talked about this before, but if this bombs, it'll be totally in line with Disney movies I liked just fine. I thought they were great, and no one else liked them. Tomorrowland, John Carter, and now Dumbo, Pete's Dragon. Again, I thought Pete's Dragon was great. I liked it a lot.
And the bad thing about that is that we know from experience with particularly Tomorrowland's not doing well basically killed Tron 3.
Yeah.
So,
which is stupid, because Tron Legacy did just fine.
Which is, and that's the kind of things that unfortunately one movie can affect other movies in that sort of way, even though they're not really connected. It's just the kind of concept.
That's
movies.
infuriating because Tron 3 in no way connects to Tomorrowland, other than the fact that they're both sci-fi. That's it.
Well,
the only way
they're
it
concept films, yeah. But
But-
the nice thing is that we do have Disney Plus, so it does give the option that if it's something that they don't see as being a theatrical release, it can get maybe a smaller budget, or maybe even still a decent budget, and still get on Disney Plus. So,
No, I have some.
I mean, I would even venture to say that Dumbo at 120 million budget may have been originally conceived as a Disney Plus release, but the only thing that got it into the theaters was Tim Burton.
It said it did 45 million.
Okay, so I was close the first time. Yeah, so 45. And it's not even halfway to the budget, so it needs to do really well overseas.
I had some thoughts about these some things I haven't considered before. They're really blowing their load on these remakes, in a way that they're putting them out there so fast that I think it's detrimental. They should have released them a little bit more like they released these films in the late 80s, early 90s. Not Dumbo necessarily, but they could have done 2 in the whole year. But how many of these are we going to have this year?
Can I just stop you so that I can agree with you?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, we are getting Dumbo, Aladdin, and Lion King all this year. And
this summer.
I would agree that, and the only reason I agree, I don't care. I don't mind. The only reason, though, I say is for the same reason that we get the people saying that we have Star Wars fatigue, and the people that we got Marvel fatigue, for the same type of people that shit is for, the same people who there's people out there that flat out think that the remake things are dumb. Even the best made ones like Jungle Book
Beauty and the Beast,
and
Jungle
Beauty and the
Book,
Beast
yeah.
is, I think, one of the best made ones, but it's also one of the most panned ones by certain people because they just flat out refuse that think the whole remake thing is just cash grab, and that's all they think about in their head, rather than just saying, well, why don't I just go try and enjoy it as a normal person? They automatically have that, well, it's all cash grab, so I'm just going to be so mad. I'm going to be mad about everything.
Now, if they'd done, like I said, Beauty and the Beast was a couple years ago, and didn't Jungle Book came out the same year?
No, the year after.
Okay. If they'd paced them more like that, and you have one big release like Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Aladdin type movie, Little Mermaid, that's being released once a year, or at the most, once every couple years, and then one other smaller Disney film, like Dumbo, for instance, older something that's maybe in that same year or on
Actually,
the
I
alternate
didn't remember.
year.
We get 4 because there's actually the Maleficent
Yeah.
sequels at the end of this year, because we just had that thing about. Now, we do know, based on what I'm just about to mention about the whole Maleficent being moved up thing, we do know that they're probably squeezed in so many this year because of Disney Plus, and they wanted to have them all in there at launch.
Okay.
So that maybe this year may be an anomaly for the live action adaptations coming out like gangbusters, and we may go back to starting in 2020, or at least by 2021, back to maybe like one every couple years or one a year at least, or something like that.
You're right, though. That's the only thing that makes sense is they're loading the gun, so to speak, for Disney Plus.
All right, so speaking of box office and movie that is doing well, and I will continue to talk about it. No, actually, this will probably be the last time, because this is the big milestone, and some people say, well, these movies have made it, blah, 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 blah. Whatever, it's still a milestone. Captain Marvel has hit the 1 billion mark as of today. Today is Monday, April 1st. That is no April Fool's joke. We have actually gone through this podcast without doing any April Fool's jokes, but because it wouldn't matter, because when you hear this, it will not be April Fool's.
Right.
The April Fool's is, if anything, we told Tim a bunch of stuff that's not true, but he just has to figure out which one it is.
Just at some point in the last couple of years, you've told me untrue things. And I
No,
have to-
today.
So it's on the podcast, but I have to just figure out which one.
Yes.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's on the podcast. It
Oh.
could have been before the podcast. So anyways.
Was it that Batman had 80 covers?
No, that was actually true.
I have no idea. You should just tell me, or I won't care.
Captain Marvel has crossed the 1 billion mark today, as I said, April 1st. It is now one of whatever it is,
10 movies.
37. No, I think it's. Oh, maybe it's not. I don't know how many movies it is. There's only been like a handful of movies that have hit across 1 billion. People will point out that some stupid stuff like one of the Transformers movies crossed 1 billion, but that's because it did really well overseas. There's a Fast and the Furious that has been over 1 billion, but once again, overseas, since those do really well in China. Big in China.
Because of the cars.
Yes, because of cars. Now, if you did still, no matter what, if you still look at it in percentage of equality between overseas and domestic, it still proves that as far as a $1 billion movie, it is totally legit. And despite what, all the haters. Moving on to TV. I don't know if, did you guys watch Zack and Cody?
Yes.
No.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
Do you guys remember London?
After Midnight? Oh, no, that was a Gothic band.
Is that where the bridge is falling down?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
There was a character in Zack and Cody's Sweet Life of Zack and Cody named London. She was played by actress Brenda Song, and she is returning to the Disney Channel after many years, but in voice only, to be a 13-year-old named Anne Boonchuy. She is an independent and fearless teen who is magically transported to the fantastical world of Amphibia. It is a rural marshland full of frog people. Amphibia comes from creator and executive producer Matt Braley, who is apparently an Annie Award winner.
I mean, listen, there are just not enough shows about frogs, so...
Exactly. That will be premiering this summer on Disney Channel and Disney Now.
Here's my question. What other types of animals other than frogs are amphibians?
Salamanders.
Will they be represented in the show?
Probably. All right, so moving from TV to movies, we've been talking about what could possibly be part of Phase 4 of the MCU coming up after Endgame. And, of course, we know that it will start with Spider-Man Far From Home. But some of the rumored stuff that we had mentioned was the possible Black Widow prequel. And then I had mentioned something called the Eternals. Well, that is moving forward, obviously. We don't really have any details on it other than as far as when it could be. We'll probably hear about that at most likely D23 or San Diego Comic-Con. That movie will be directed by Chloe Zhao. They are known for something called The Writer and Songs My Brother Taught Me. They are probably some indie stuff I've never heard of, but I'm sure if anybody has heard of those, they could email us, mousepire@gmail.com, and tell us all about it. They were attached in September to direct that, and we got an announcement of some possible casting that Angelina Jolie of the aforementioned Maleficent is in talks to star in The Eternals, which of course would be other than maybe Laura Croft. Other than maybe Laura Croft would be Angelina Jolie's first foray into a superhero. I'm sure there's people out there, boys out there, who think that Laura Croft is a superhero, but
she's more of like an Indiana Jones type character.
Yeah, some people probably see Indiana Jones as a superhero. I don't know. It's each their own. Now, we don't know who she may be going for. A lot of people are predicting that she might be playing a character named Cersei. I don't really know much about these characters. It's not one of my forays as far as knowledge of a comic book knowledge of Marvel. I don't want to know much about the Eternals, but I know Cersei is a major character with the Eternals and also is a major character later on with the X-Men. So it's possible that this could be... I have heard mentions that the Eternals could be our bridge to the X-Men and more specifically mutants coming to the MCU. And this does expand that possibilities if she does end up playing Cersei specifically. That we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, she's got to do something before she gets too old to play a superhero. She's almost there.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that because I mean, there's plenty of superheroes in the Marvel universe that are older. So you just there's all kinds of roles to be played. I mean, even
if this is not like a well-known comic book franchise. I mean, that doesn't.
Well,
that
this could be
matter. Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't
right.
well known either.
We're looking at basically this is the next Guardians of the Galaxy in the MCU is going to be the Eternals. They wanted it to be the Inhumans, but then that was received so poorly on S.H.I.E.L.D. that they decided to cancel that and then just do that stupid mini-series that they did. So this is the next possibility of hopefully the riding that Guardians of the Galaxy wave. Hey, so I was telling you guys last week about Emmy nominations and that that DuckTales had not been nominated for a couple Emmys, and that I had mentioned that Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure had been nominated for an Emmy, but I did not have details on that. I do now have details that it was also nominated in the Outstanding Casting category along with DuckTales, so it is going up against DuckTales in that casting category. But it did already in one of those at a ceremony previously conducted
prior to the actual awards.
Yes, one of those type of things. Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure has already won an Emmy for Outstanding Production Design and for Outstanding Background Design, which I 100% agree with because Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure does have really, really pretty, nicely painted backgrounds.
It's animated.
Well, yeah. Have you not heard of the show?
I mean, I've heard of it. I haven't watched it.
It's already on season 3.
I haven't watched it.
You should. It's really good.
Alrighty then. I'll show Elizabeth. She likes that stuff a little bit more. I mean, the Tangled is one of my favorite modern Disney movies. Probably.
I'm surprised. I never even saw Tangled, and yet I got into the show. All right, so finally we have some other than obviously we always have Galaxy's Edge news nowadays, but we have some news just coming out short of Star Wars Celebration, which incidentally is next week. So be ready. I know that we will be taking I know this hasn't been mentioned. We will be taking a break.
We are going on spring break.
Yeah, we're going on a spring break, and we will be taking a break next week, not having a podcast, but we will be back the week after on
Wednesday.
Wednesday. We're recording on Wednesday the 17th. We'll be recording.
Which means you guys will probably hear the show on the 19th, right?
Right.
Or something like that. And that will be the big, big, big wrap-up of Star Wars Celebration, including most likely first trailer for Star Wars Episode 9, title for Star Wars Episode 9, first trailer for Mandalorian, more information about stuff coming to the Disney Plus for Star Wars, and all sorts of cool stuff coming next weekend at Star Wars Celebration and coming to your ear holes the week after on the week of the 17th for when we have our next podcast. But we got some early news that, interestingly, that made people mad because they have hearing issues or something.
Huh?
I mean, I get it if people have hearing issues, but I mean, it's people always have to have something to complain about. And then there was something else they complained about, which Star Wars Books, a.k.a. Del Rey, announced that they would be coming out with Star Wars Dooku, Jedi Lost, and it will be their first audio original story. So it's not going to be a book. It's going to be like an audio drama where all the different roles are going to be played by different people. And it's going to be about Count Dooku, and it's going to be also about Asajj Ventress, who was seen in Star Wars Clone Wars, and actually even originally in the Genndy Clone Wars series that came out before Revenge of the Sith. And it will be following her as she delves into the mysterious past of Count Dooku. Apparently, through channels, it has been revealed that, which is interesting because it was kind of a joke leading up to this, about whether Count Dooku had her first name. Apparently, we will find out his first name, and hopefully it won't be Sheev.
It's probably something like Larry.
Yeah, maybe. Now, this is
Ronaldo, maybe.
This is going to be this is being written by Kevin Scott, who is well known for the people who read Star Wars comics as somebody who writes some of the Star Wars comics, and strangely enough, maybe well known to people who read Doctor Who books, because he has written quite a few Doctor Who novels and audiobooks.
Do you think being an audio drama, there'll be some sort of You listen to a lot of audiobooks. So you think there'll be a narrator and then dialogue?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the whole cast list has been announced, and it is all like a who's who of people who read audiobooks. At least 4 of the people that are in the cast are people who have previously read some sort of Star Wars audiobook before, whether it's Jonathan Davis, not the one from Korn, or some other people. Now, I mentioned there was some controversy about the casting. I really think it's really dumb. Jonathan Davis, Mark Thompson, January Lavoie, and Saskia Marleveld, they have all read Star Wars books previously, and I assume all these other people are, veterans of audiobook readings. But it was, because Star Wars fans have to have something to complain about, or else their brains will explode. I just kept saying, oh, well, how come it's not the actual actors from Clone Wars? Or how come it's these nobodies, a bunch of nobodies? And how come we're not getting these voices? Blah, 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 blah. To which I'm like, well, they're not nobodies if you actually listen to audiobooks. Because, like I said, I know who 4 of these people are. Then,
so they're targeting the audiobook world, not so much the film
and
world,
I posit to them, Count Dooku is voiced by Corey Burton.
Larry.
Who is a super well-known voice actor. People just off the top of my head, you may know him as if you ever watched any Superman or Justice League, you may know him as the voice of Brainiac from all of those. You may know him as the voice of Yin Sid from Mickey and the Magical Map at Disneyland. You may also know him as the voice of Count Dooku on Star Wars The Clone Wars. But he is a well-known voice actor who has things to do, and his time is money, and he may just not have time for something like this, and that goes for just about any voice actor who, makes money off of doing actual like shows and stuff and not a 5-hour audio drama. So the fact that you would expect people who are normally making money for doing more voice acting to have the time to do something like this, I'm sure for Del Rey it was much easier just to gather up a bunch of normal audiobook actors that they use frequently, that's just selfish and really, really dumb. I mean, wouldn't you agree as somebody who really has no stake in any of it? I mean, doesn't that sound like just stupid? I mean, it just seem like makes more sense that that's what they would do.
Well, a lot of times there's projects come up and you just can't, you don't have the time to do it, and they're not gonna, whoever's doing the project's not going to have time to wait for you to not, do. If you're doing something else and you can't do it right now, they're not going to hold up production because you can't do it. So if they have to go another route, then they go another route.
I mean, especially, and you look at this is the cast list is 12 different characters, but only 4 of them are established would have had established voices. So you're really just complaining about Dooku and Asajj Ventress. One of the other voices is Qui-Gon Jinn. They got very lucky that they were able to get Liam Neeson to voice Qui-Gon Jinn for 2 episodes of Clone Wars at the very, 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 very end of the series. To really think that they're going to be able to get Liam Neeson to do an audio drama, you must be stupid. And you must be smoking something that you're not sharing.
It's way too big a deal for that.
So, I mean, that's Liam Neeson. Like I said, Corey Burton is kind of a big deal when it comes to voice acting. So for people, that's just privilege. That's just really privileged and gatekeepery. I mean, and this is coming from people who complain about gatekeepers. You're just being the same kind of person. And it's just, that's really the kind of thing that I'm really getting tired of in Star Wars fandom, is the people that gatekeep or that complain about the gatekeepers, but then they turn around and they gatekeep by complaining about something like this the same way. And it's just really, really annoying.
Now, for your average listener, you want to explain what a gatekeeper is?
From Ghostbuster.
I mean, if you were the Keymaster, you would know that. So this goes on sale. It's already on pre-sale on Audible. It comes out on April 30th. I will definitely be getting it. For those people who like audiobooks out there, stay tuned for that. It's going to be cool.
Is it time for the mail?
Yes, it is time for the mail. And our first email comes from Wreck-It Rachel. Her subject line is, "It wasn't my fault, sir. Please don't deactivate me." Hey guys, as my subject line says, please don't fire me. I didn't send in an email last week, but you guys didn't say anything about it, so I guess it's not a big deal, as I thought it was.
Not as much as if Dan doesn't send in an email this week.
Now we got some sad news here.
Uh-oh.
And she says the reason that she didn't send it last week is because her grandmother died.
Well,
that's incredibly sad. And you only get to use that excuse once. So it better be true this time. No,
don't say that.
That's horrible.
People have two grandparents.
Well, that's true too. If you need somebody to talk to, feel free to reach out because that's horrible. I'm still not over my grandparents, and it's been a long time.
Same here. So we are sorry for your loss, and we're thinking about you, Wreck-It Rachel. She said that she took her mom to go see Captain Marvel so we can watch a badass lady kick some ass and forget our sadness.
Good choice.
It was awesome. She reminded me of early Thor in the beginning with no nonsense, straight face, and overall confusion. It's definitely in my top 10 for Marvel movies. I'm not sure where though. My 1 and 2 spots are Thor Ragnarok and Guardians 1.
Look at that, Anthony. Thor Ragnarok. He still hasn't watched it.
I did.
Just like last week?
No, like 3 weeks ago.
Well, you haven't told us what you thought.
You didn't ask.
All right, she says, oh, can we add Deadpool to the list now since he's Disney? Because that's in my top 10 too. Anyway, it was a great movie. Go see it. Anthony,
I knew it.
Okay, maybe you did. She says, I love Anastasia's 2. Ignore those other 2.
I usually do.
The soundtrack was on repeat for us when it came out. Tim's stroller rumor came true. I happen to be more excited about Disney becoming a non-smoking property. I hate cigarettes, and walking by the designated areas is awful. Bye, smokers.
She's right, man. We walked by the big smoking area in Disneyland Park this last Friday, and from 50 feet away, you can smell the smoke. I didn't realize it was that bad because I don't usually walk that area.
Well, the problem is that once they just real fast. The problem is that once they started eliminating smoking areas, it required everybody to go to the one, and it basically caused there to be so many people that the last few times I had walked by there, not only did you have the people in the section itself, but then you had people sitting on the benches across the way. Then you had people kind of like off, filtering off to the left and right of where it is, so that you get that much more smoke filtering than you would have normally had they still had all the other smoking areas. One of my least favorite ones was the one there on the dock on the river, which I know was one of Michael's favorite. But that one,
it used to be one of my favorites when I smoked.
That was one of the when I smoked too, it was one of my favorites. But when I didn't smoke, it became one of the worst ones because that air just filters so much.
Yeah,
but anyways, moving on.
She says, I know you'll complain about it, but I don't care, meaning the smokers.
Yeah.
You should quit. It's bad for you.
Yeah.
On that note, bye, Rachel. That's funny. All right. Well, thank you for your email, Rachel. We are sorry for your loss.
Yes.
And
definitely.
Hey, if you need to reach out, you can always email us and text us and all that stuff.
No prayers, plenty of thoughts.
All right. So our next email is from Dan the Mailman.
Uh-oh.
Hey, you made it.
It is 10:22 right now, and it came in at 10:19.
Hey, all right. Look at that. Look at that.
And
by the skin of your teeth.
I will say that considering the amount of times we've, which has only been like 2 or 3, that we've had to wait for him, at least he got it in right on time.
I just want to say, I'm going to leave it in that I texted him that we were recording. I forgot to tell him. Mm. So his email is a book.
Whoa.
I'm going to let Tim read it. His subject line is Strollers and Ice and Smokes.
Strollers and ice and everything nice. That's what I'm saying.
That's nothing nice about any of those things.
Exactly. Dan goes on. He says, so whatever with the new rules, I'm sure you covered them to death. Why is no one talking about the real problem? Electric scooters. They're much bigger than strollers and always get in the way. Disney needs to end these. Can I long for the good old days of just regular wheelchairs, which in my opinion are too much and they're too big too? Unfortunately, how could they get rid of those electric scooters without having ADA issues?
Yeah. Let me tell you a real quick story of a stroller or of a wheelchair. When I was there with family, we're sitting by Thunder Mountain because some of them were on Thunder Mountain, so we're waiting for them. And there was these 3 people in wheelchairs going towards like Galaxy's Edge. And so there's 3 people going up that way. There was one person who literally got up, and she got up so she could walk it up. She got up to walk it up, like in her sitting position, instead of basically getting off the wheelchair and maybe pushing it up the hill. Did she really Did she really need one of those?
No.
Okay.
Not if you can do that.
Exactly.
He goes on. Anyway, made her return to the parks on Sunday. Finally got my AP button for food and wine, which I need to get myself. As far as I'm concerned, everyone they offer something for free that I can get. I'm going to go take it because I paid for that with my pass. Agreed. My son wanted to check out the new Jessie's Critter Carousel. That just opened since he's a huge Toy Story fan. It's a cute ride. The wait was decent for a busy Sunday, and the theming is pretty good. They must have been training that day since the ride before they actually stopped it, told some people where they could stand while it was in operation, and then continued the ride. Captain Marvel backdrop was great, but the line was a little too long to wait for her next time, so made the trek to DL for Star Tours Fast Pass, and then took the train up to Main Street. While in Tomorrowland, we had to wait for them to fuel up with a biodiesel.
Can you pause right there for a second? Because I just want to mention something about the Captain Marvel photo op that I don't know if everybody has noticed. There are crates behind against by the hangar doors, quote unquote hangar doors. There is one crate that says Stan Lee, kind of stylized. It's with letters and numbers, but you could tell it says Stan Lee. And it has his birth and death date on it. And then there is another crate that has that says Captain Danvers on it in the same stylized, and it has Brie Larson's actual birth date on it.
It's rare for Disney to put death dates on anything. Stan Lee's probably just important enough for them to...
Right.
They wouldn't let anybody put death dates on the, or even 2 separate dates on any of the bricks when they sold those in the 90s.
So just a little Easter egg for people to look out for when they're over there at the Captain Marvel photo op.
So Dan had to wait for the train to be filled up with biodiesel, which doesn't happen very often.
Whoa.
This was interesting as they claim what comes out of the vats is converted to biodiesel and then used in the engines. Got to see the truck with the biodiesel fuel in it, and it actually has the Disneyland logo on it. So there's some truth to that story. Anyways, neat to see something you don't know about operationally. I agree. The Angels-Dodgers game, TFTI, I already had tickets for like 2 months. We always go to a couple of games a season with the school program and take the metro to the stadium since the line runs right to the metro line runs right to the stadium. Kids always ask about the Angels-Dodgers game, but that train only runs on Friday nights, and it's never worked out based on the schedule. This year, the preseason game happened to be on spring break, so I booked that and the bus to finally get the kids to see the Freeway Series since it was a Monday and no one had to worry about school the next day. If I can find a more reliable transportation from Riverside to Dodger Stadium, I'd consider it. Still, Dan, next time there's a Freeway Series, include us.
I believe that's in July or June.
As long as it's Anaheim Stadium, because I don't want to get stabbed.
I'm good at either stadium. So Dan goes on to continue. He says, that's enough rambling for now. Hopefully next week, get to do some egg hunting at the parks. Dan out. P.S. Giselle really said she didn't like Into the Spider-Verse, but I don't think she was paying attention. That's it.
Cool. Yeah, she included us in a text, basically like what I am message, whatever, on Instagram. And she was saying that she really didn't get it or something like that.
I had another guy I know that likes comic book stuff, and he didn't like that movie for some reason. I don't know how, but
You didn't like which movie?
Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, what?
Yeah, exactly.
She said, my disinterest in this Spider-Man movie is off the charts. Come on, guys.
Wow.
That's what her quote was in this I Am.
I mean, I'd like to know why, but I mean, I could see people not liking it because the style is weird.
Too comic booky. Some people are into comic book adaptations, movies, etc.
But they don't like it look like it when it looks like an actual comic book.
They're not into action. I mean, it takes a certain kind of person to have the patience for an actual comic book.
That is what you call gatekeeper.
There you go.
A gatekeeper is somebody who's not a comic book fan who tries to gatekeep on comic book movies. Well, no, that's a type of gatekeeper. I didn't mean that's an actual gatekeeper, but that is an example of gatekeeping when somebody who, like what I just said.
I'm just a geek keeper.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you for your email there, Dan, the mailman. Really glad that you got it in. And I'm sorry that I forgot to tell you that we were recording today and that we started early. But hey, if Dan can do that within...
That's what you call boss.
Yes. Well, if he can do that within a couple of minutes and whatever, he had a softball practice and then he had to go make a stop somewhere before he can email us in, and he still got it in on time, then you guys can do that too. So if you guys have any comments, questions, you have any thoughts about the new ban on smoking and or strollers, wagons, and ice cubes.
Loose ice.
And if you're going to try and email us on the side of smoking, we don't care.
All you have to do is email us.
MousePIRE@gmail.com.
Email us with whatever. I'll read it if he doesn't.
If you're on the side of smoking, then you can email Tim only, and we'll be sure not to read it on the podcast.
Okay.
He can read it to himself.
Do you have a special occasion coming up? Looking to personalize your trip with a keepsake? Create customized buttons for birthdays, engagements, family vacations, even bridal parties, or just because. Check out buttonsbydiggs.com today. Buttons by Diggs, Buttons by Diggs. Remember, those are buttons, not pins.
All right, it's going to do it for this episode of the MousePIRE Podcast. Hey, real quick, got a quick little update that once again, over there, the little kiosk set up where they have the times for the attractions over at Disneyland Park. It's gone again. They moved that area with the plaids over to basically it looks like it's over where the ice cream cart usually is when you enter Adventureland. So to get your times for the DAS Pass, you'll head over there and they can help you with your times for your attractions. There is no more of the board that tells you the wait times for the attractions. So you have to use your Disney app for that, which then again, that's what I do anyway, and why wouldn't you? But I guess they moved that for some reason. Maybe it's part of Stardust. I don't know. I didn't go over there. I just seen this real quick. And also, we forgot to mention that part of the Stardust thing that's going on with all the changes coming to the parks for easy pathways and everything for all the guests coming for Galaxy's Edge, they are going to be redoing the entrance to Adventureland. They're actually just going to take out that one little area that's holding, like, that middle area. You know how you go to the right and you go through this little opening?
Yeah, they're going to take down the whole marquee and for the Adventure to Adventureland. And there's there's some bamboo, like, posts there that were added for the opening of Indiana Jones. They were originally, when the line came all the way out to the entrance to Adventureland, they had put those in so they can keep the line separated. I don't know if you remember that's what those were for.
Somewhat.
Because I actually remember being in that line and having to go through those that day, the day it opened.
Oh, now I remember. Yes.
And that's how they kept the line separate over there, was they just added those poles so that way they could say, here's the line, and then they added the rope to it.
I remember.
But so now, obviously, since they haven't had to use those in like 20 years, more than that they finally would take those out, and so to open up that way so that people weren't constantly trying to run into those things. Now you'll have a full wide entrance into Adventureland. Now if they can just figure out a way to widen the entrance into Frontierland.
Right. And speaking of that, The little pathway that connects Adventureland and Frontierland is closed also for some, I don't even know what they're doing over there. So yeah, that's going to be closed off for a while. We don't have a date on when they're going to be reopening that. So you will have to make your full trip
April.
around. April.
Oh, no, September. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, don't forget to get over there and check out Jessie's new carousel.
She got a bunch of critters.
She got a bunch of critters that nobody knows about, and you can go ride them, just like Dan did.
There you go.
Hey, Dan didn't even talk about that in his email.
He did say he went over there because his son wanted to ride.
Yeah, I wanted a review of the ride. I wanted some exacts.
It goes around. It goes around in circles.
I want to know. I want to know.
Right.
I want to know how much is the up and down. I want to know how fast it's going. Music. What kind of music was playing?
The music. Yeah.
Toy Story.
There you go.
All right. Well, if you have any questions about anything that's coming up, or if you guys desperately to find out while we're on spring break next week and not having a podcast, or if you guys want to find out things as they're happening and you don't want to wait for the podcast when Star Wars Celebration comes around, make sure you're following all the social medias. We're, of course, MousePIRE on Facebook, at MousePIRE on the Twitter and the Instagram, and just MousePIRE on the Snappy Chats.
Make sure you are, if you guys are on Snapchat, to follow, because I have been posting, and I actually posted a snappy of the Jessie's Critters carousel when they was doing their soft opening, and you guys would have known it was open. And I didn't post anything on other social medias. I just did. Check out dgpclothing.com and get your MousePIRE gear. I will be there in the parks on Friday, so I will be doing some snappies there.
Snip, snippity, snoop.
Dog.
Yeah. I have a dog. I'm super excited.
Yeah, that was last
Her name's
week.
Chewy, and I'm still super excited.
All right, you can follow me on Instagram at Blue1313. Also follow Buttons by Diggs on Instagram. There you see your button order going out. Check out dgpclothing.com and get your MousePIRE gear. Help support the podcast. You can get your custom-made gear also, and custom-made car decals. Put your kids' Little League teams on there, numbers, whatever. Hey, All-Stars comes up in July, so you can put their All-Star numbers and names and team and all that kind of stuff. Also, head over to patreon.com/MousePIRE. Help support the podcast. Check out Michael, the OG Mail Guy, $3 special. Can't buy your corn dog, but it can help us run the podcast. And don't forget to head over to YouTube. Check out the podcast there. All you have to do is search MousePIRE Podcast or hit the link over on our Facebook page and subscribe, and you will know when the new podcast is out as soon as Tim can get to those.
Not me, the other Tim.
And until next time, remember, smoking is bad. Okay. Also, make your children walk, you heathens. So for Batman, Bender, Mr. Anderson, and Patrick Verona, I'm Anthony.
I'm Tim.
I'm Diggs.
Bye.
Do or do not. There is no try.
No try.
Blip, bloppity, bloop.
Yeah, blip, bloppity, bloop.
This podcast is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. Audio, sound bites, and other clips are property of their copyright holders. All original stuff is ours and property of MousePIRE.com. Check out MousePIRE. Nothing.
I smell barbecue.
I do too. Dumbo, nothing but Dumbo.
Na 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 na. Hey, goodbye. What are you doing?
I don't know. Is that what we're trying to... You didn't tell me what we were doing. I just thought we were all singing different songs.
Nobody said that.
I'll be right back.